In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
What's happening, guys? Another day, another dollar, another day, another bomb dropped. What's happening? Hit that like button on the way in. It is the 11th of June, 2026, and I do appreciate you for joining me. Like I said, if you could take the time out, reach over, hit that like button, the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel would be even better. I know a lot of people watching all the time, but aren't necessarily subscribed to the channel. You may think you are, but see if you can hop out at some point. Just double check to see if that subscribe button is pressed. What's going on, Chad? How's everybody feeling today? How's everybody doing? Welcome, one and all. What's up, Rocks? What's going on, El Rondo? How are you? What's up, Ellen? What's up, Dame? What's going on, guys? What's up, No Money G? What's up, Carol? Thank you, Frank, so much for starting it off in the right direction there. As far as the gifting is concerned, multiple ways in which you could do so. You got the Venmo just up here in the corner. You can follow Frank's lead. You can throw a super chat into the chat there. You can also head over to patreon.com/Boston Brian. But we got a lot to cover today, a lot to talk about as far as last night's and possibly, again, tonight's bombings, missiles. Reports are that at least 5 different U.S. bases were hit. So we're going to be diving into all of the different coverage, whether it's OSINT Defender, whether it's the the typical propaganda and rhetoric coming from CENTCOM. Drop Site News has a couple things to report. So like I said, we'll just be going through all of that as well. A couple other things we'll be taking a look at is we'll be taking a literal look inside of Trump's phone scam, his little gold friggin' Trump phone that he's got. Apparently one of the news stations there, I'm forgetting which one at this point in time, but they took it to a specialist and they tore it open and they basically compared it to another Chinese-made phone. I believe it was an HTC phone, if I'm not mistaken, and it's basically just a rip-off, a copy of that same thing. So when they told you it was going to be made in the USA, that was bullshit, and apparently they got the evidence to prove it there. So we'll take a look at that. Obviously, Trump's recent threats on Truth Social and Fox News, again, threatening to bomb the shit out of them, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see if we can take a look at that. We'll take a closer look at the Apache strike. A couple red flags raised on that one. As far as, the way that Donald Trump put this, at least, the way that he told Trey Yingst from Fox News, the way that this went down. So I have a little bit of analysis, let's just say. I did a little bit of, just on-the-fly research to see if it's, just even remotely possible what Donald Trump said happened. And I think you'll be a little bit surprised, maybe not surprised, at what I found out. So we'll take a look at that as well. Trump's claim about oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. We talked about this on the show the other day, where if in fact this was true, why the hell would you bring it up? If it was a secret plan that was working behind the scenes, what the hell were you doing bringing it up in the first place? Why would you tell Iran? Secondly, the amount of ships that he claims was coming through or have been coming through, again, a fraction, just a minute percentage of what would typically be coming through the Strait of Hormuz. So either way, it's not the flex that he thinks it is. We also have a Jake Bro and RFU News giving us some updates on Crimea, and then Jesse Waters goggles Trump balls over the recent Iran strike. So we'll see if we can call out a little bit of Jesse Waters. Ton to dive into, ton to talk about. Thank you, Chad, for being here. What's up, Sketch? What's going on, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Substack, as we like to say, the whole nine. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. Starting it off where we've been starting it off on the last few shows. Thank you, guys. We have now reached over $11,200 raised, I believe, if my maths is correct. So we got about 9,712 euro, 47% of the way to our goal, right? We are so close to 50% in under 2 weeks, and I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be, again, more grateful for the community that we have here and the way that you guys continue to step up. So to see, like I said, I believe the calculations are correct. Somebody in the chat's always better at math than I am. Not very hard for that. Not very hard for that to happen, but I think it's around 11,200, something like that. So again, very substantial, 73 different donations. Thank you guys for getting us this far, and thank you for obviously when we get to the end goal as well. That 100% is going to feel really sweet. So see if there's anybody else on the wall we can thank. Vasil, thank you so much if you're watching. Olena, thank you so much if you're watching. Gregory and everybody else that we thanked. Arthur, thank you so much. Thomas, Philippe, Colleen, MJ. Again, everybody else on this donation wall. It continues to grow by the day, and it's really cool to see. So very much appreciate everybody stepping up. Like I always say, putting your money where your mouth is, not only helping out the channel, but helping out, whatever this channel is involved in. So total goal is going to be 20,500 euro. And like I said, we're just about at the 10,000 euro mark, a little bit shy of that, but I have no doubts we'll get there in no time. But what do you say we dive into a little bit of this, the Trump scam, the phone that everybody's been talking about? So this was, like I said, who was this? Was it MSNBC? Was it CBS? I forget at this point. It was NBC. All right, let me throw this on your screen. NBC apparently got one of these phones. They heard all of the reports out there and people talking about how long the wait was. And I think they got nervous. So they sent out like a couple, what they were calling like demo phones to people in the news, in the media, people that were, talking about this on the news or that had podcasts or, people that they knew would kind of get the word out there that, yes, it does exist. Yes, it is something that you could actually physically hold in your hands, right? Because people were like, this thing's a bunch of bullshit. Look at all the millions that people put into this. Nobody's seen a Trump phone. So right after that, and he'll explain this, they sent out these phones, these like demo phones, I guess, to a bunch of the people in the media. And this guy took it to like a phone specialist and had it cracked open, looked at the internals, looked at the guts of it, and compared it to, other phones that are out there on the market. And then obviously looked at whether or not it was made in the USA. And then obviously, that they changed the made in the USA to assembled in the USA when they were called out. But I don't even think that's the case. But you'll see what they find here. This is just, really quick how they like to scam you. Another detail, another rung on the ladder of scams from the Trump family right now. So like I said, this is NBC inside Trump Mobile, and he's quite literally looking inside the phone. So just really quick going through this before we dive into a lot to come from obviously the strikes last night and into this morning, the bases that were hit, whatever the United States decided to strike and why they decided to strike those particular places. So just after this, we'll take a look at all of that. But I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics, and this is the Trump phone scam. And let's see what bullshit they're trying to pull with this one.
Today, we're here to introduce Trump Mobile.
It was an ambitious promise.
We're going to be manufacturing the phones.
A phone at $499 made entirely right here in the U.S. We wanted to see if that claim was legit. Thank you for your order, Brian Chung. Placing an order ourselves and waiting for months. Here we are in May of 2026, and there appears to be no sign of it until last month when Trump Mobile sent us.
So that was May, right? So that was him on NBC, basically like, hey, we put in this money, we paid the deposit, nobody's seen a phone yet. What the hell is going on? And then mysteriously, not long after he did that news broadcast, he got this in the mail. And again, it's not everybody that ordered the phone. It was just like high-profile people that had, like I said, news spots, podcasts, and that type of thing. So yeah, we'll see what he finds when he gets it.
Said was going out to some members of the media. There's a Truth Social preloaded onto the phone. Aside from that gold yellowish back, the phone appeared to resemble the U24 Pro, an Android phone made by Taiwanese company HTC.
It looks very similar. It has a very distinct shape.
Yeah, that does look really similar. To confirm that, we headed to iFixit's offices in San Luis Obispo, California, where lead teardown engineer Sharam Makhtari offered to help us run some tests, including through a modified CT scanner.
Let's unlatch it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so there it is. which gave us an inside look at the T1 phone's guts, which looked eerily similar to a scan that iFixit ran for the HTC phone.
Without cheating,
So eerily similar, in fact, that the guy that's doing the scans covers the screen, which tells you which phone it is, and actually has the guy try to decipher which one's the Trump phone, which one's the HTC, which is obviously a joke because it's the exact same goddamn thing, right? This is an internal X-ray of the guts, and you can see that the cameras are in the same position. The boards are, in fact, in the same position, not only in the same position, but they can contain the same components, like verbatim from this other phone. It's just basically got like a Trump shell on it, and it's added on Truth Social into the apps. That's, I think, the extent of the difference there.
Wow, they look so similar. The left image, the HTC. The T1 on the right, the battery, cameras, board.
So again, I already forget which one he said was which, but you can't tell, right? There's absolutely no way in which you can tell. This guy that works on phones, apparently he's an expert. He's even remarking at how similar, in fact, almost exact the phones are to each other.
It's mostly in the exact same place, with the exception of the flash. But Mokhtari and I wanted to take an even closer look with the help of an industrial-grade microscope to see the pixels in the T1 screen.
This is a pentile layout, and it's in Samsung's patented diamond layouts in particular. Definitely not made in the United States as far as I know.
The same.
Definitely not made in the United States. So that's literally the one thing that they were reliant on, was the fact that this phone was made in the United States. Like, to buy American for Americans, do it all American, yada, yada, yada. Don't buy foreign bullshit. And it's like, wait till they crack it open too, because it's like the first thing that you can see, it says Philippines in big letters. And it's like, you can look at the components, and the guy says, you'd have to trace it back to the exact factory, but it's almost 100% guarantee that none of these were originated in the United States.
Design seen in the HTC that iFixit ran under the same microscope. One more check to do, cracking it open. We're really going to test to see if this is truly just an HTC U24 Pro reskin for Trump Mobile. First off, I should remark that I literally see the word the Philippines. Breaking it down.
First thing he notices, Philippines, right? And then they go on to break it down further. And obviously the gentleman knows what he's looking at and what he's breaking down, and can tell you, without, too much of a doubt where these components are, originate. And like he says, the first thing that you see being the Philippines gives you a pretty good idea where the rest of them are made. If not in the Philippines, definitely not in the United States.
Piece by piece, confirming that the parts are nearly identical to the HTC U24 Pro. The three cameras, as you point out, are in the exact same place.
They're in the exact same spot.
The boards are the same.
The board's going to be exactly the same, yeah.
iFixit confirming that its parts are very much not American, as Trump Mobile originally promised. Does it look like this is a made in the USA phone?
It's unlikely. Ultimately, you won't know unless you go to the factories, but this is a Chinese phone. Everything we've seen suggests that the T1.
So the one on the left is the Chinese phone, right? The one on the left is the China. The one on the right is the exact same thing, although it says Trump on the back of it, and you can get Truth Social already installed on it. And I think they moved the flash just a little bit. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the price difference is. I don't know what that other HTC phone, costs. I don't know if they jacked up the price. I don't know if it's the same thing or whatnot. But it's much like the Trump RX and everything else that the guy's involved in. It's a huge scam. Right, he makes it seem like it's the biggest, greatest, newest thing ever, and then when you get down deep into it, much like we did here, you find out that it's not his idea. It's already been done 1,000 times before. It's a copycat. It's a direct scam and a fraud of something else. You know what I mean? The money doesn't actually go where you think the money goes. Whatever it may be, there's always something going on behind the scenes with these bastards. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I think this might be the reason why they had to change the made in the United States to assembled in the United States. But again, I'd even think that would be a stretch. Where are the factories in fact that these things are being put together by American workers, right, that are assembling all these Chinese parts and Taiwanese parts and parts from the Philippines and shit? Where is that factory in the United States? Because I'd love to know, because that would mean that they couldn't even rightly say it was assembled in the United States at that point in time. But I found this, like we talked about the Mumbans, what was the Ambani, excuse me, the other day, and how they paid $100 million to a Don Jr. backed company because their company was being targeted by Trump's tariffs. I mean, it's just, again, the list continues to grow as far as ways they're scamming the American people, scamming the world in general. just profiting mightily off of the backs of the government and foreign governments as well. But let's see if we could dive into a little bit of the coverage from the strikes last night. There's a lot to get into here. Like I said, we're just going to try to methodically go through what has been posted, what's been put out there as far as video and, announcements from different governments as far as interceptors, places that were struck. We're going to try to go through it all right now. Let me throw this on your screen real quick. We're going to start at the beginning again. This was 16 hours ago. Just got to make our way up to current time. This is posted by OSINT Defender. We'll just go through a few of them. This was a post from the General Staff of the Kuwaiti Army announcing that air defense systems are currently intercepting hostile aerial targets, including drones and ballistic missiles launched by Iran. This was the retaliation that we expected. We were on last night, so it was probably happening as we were talking last night. So I told you, as soon as you wake up, you'll find out, what was hit, and we sure, in fact, did. So this was OSINT again, 16 hours ago, posted sirens again in Bahrain. We also have footage coming in to say that there was, in fact, strikes and reports to suggest that there was 5 U.S. bases hit, amongst other things. This says that the siren had been sounded. Citizens and residents urged to remain calm and head to the nearest place. Safe place, it says. Short and medium-range ballistic missiles continue to be launched by Iran at Gulf nations following last night's wave of self-defense strikes by U.S. Central Command. That was 15 hours ago. A little bit of footage coming in there from some of the launches in the early morning. Air defense activity and plumes of smoke from possible interceptions over the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan. Following a wave of ballistic missiles launched by Iran. Jordan, I think a strike on Jordan shows the capabilities, a little bit of the capabilities that the Iranians definitely still have left. It's something that I don't think was targeted as much as the other Gulf nations, if I'm correct. So to see that being struck is obviously showing that the Iranians mean business and continue to mean business. So this says smoke from a possible drone or missile impact reportedly seen rising from the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Right, so this was that, and I think we have some more footage coming from this on one of the other posts, so I'll save it for that. But there was some comparisons to what it looked like during the first strike or the first couple times that was targeted, and then obviously the footage coming out from last night as well. This was Kuwait's Directorate General of Civil Aviation has announced temporary closure of its airspace, obviously because of the retaliation. Several commercial flights holding over the Persian Gulf due to the ongoing drone and missile attacks by Iran, showing the obvious disruption in the area. That was 15 hours ago. This was 14 hours ago. The IRGC has announced that its missile forces carried out an attack earlier on the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan using 12 medium-range ballistic missiles as retaliation for last night's wave of U.S. strikes against Iran. It says with the attack claimed to have targeted also F-35s, F-16s and F-15s, as well as control center in the Salty Air Base. So this is something that you're probably not likely to hear reported from CENTCOM, but this is at least the claim from the IRGC that they also targeted F-35s, F-16s, and F-15s, as well as sending 12 medium-range ballistic missiles into the Muwafaq Salty Air Base in Jordan. And we go on, it says missile interceptors from an American MIM-104 Patriot surface-to-air missile battery engaged Iranian missile medium-range ballistic missiles earlier this morning over Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan. So here's just a little bit of footage coming from that exact attack. See if we can look at that. You can see the Patriots going up, the interceptors going up. You get to see it make contact. You can see what looks to be other contacts being made, other explosions there in the sky. But, evidence, definite evidence of an attack there with the Patriots going up to try to mitigate that attack. This was CENTCOM announcing that they have disabled the 9th vessel that failed to comply with the U.S. naval blockade of Iran, and the 3rd just this week. Last night at 11:20 Eastern Time, U.S. forces fired 2 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles into the engine room of a Guinea-Bissau flagged motor tanker, the Jalvi, as it transited the Gulf of Oman after it failed to heed U.S. directive several times. This also said that, according to Kuwait's Ministry of Defense, over the past 48 hours, a total of 24 Iranian one-way attack drones have been shot down by air defenses over Kuwait. That was 6 hours ago. Like I said, we're just kind of making our way up to current time, going over what happened last night. We'll go over this statement in a little bit, so I won't cover that right this second. and see if there was anything else coming in here. Oh yeah, this was posted by the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and this kind of, I think, puts another big, I don't know, let's just say another big twig in the spokes of this bicycle, right? I don't think this is going to help the negotiations by any stretch of the imagination. Not to say that, like, bombing, bombing the Iranian, bombing the Iranians itself is going to help the negotiations, but this certainly seems like something that the Iranians are never going to agree to. And that will just immediately shoot down any talks that, are likely to happen, if at all. But this says here, according to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, the U.S. plans to use Iranian funds from the frozen assets and accounts to pay for any damages to allied infrastructure. So the bases that are being struck, the 5, reported bases that were hit just last night, and obviously the ones that we've reported on being struck before that. Now Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying that the frozen assets, which again the Iranians have put into deal after deal after deal after deal, proposal, I should say, to say that they want that back, whether it's the frozen funds or it's, again, damages for the, payback for the damages that the United States and Israel has caused during their war in Iran. So, again, that seems to be, a sticking point that's not going to be agreed to right off the bat. It says that, in addition, additionally, Secretary Bessent said that the same will be done for all tolls paid to the Iranians for passage through the Strait of Hormuz, saying any tolls paid to the Persian Gulf Strait Authority will be offset by funds extracted from their accounts, which, two things, shows that they definitely don't have control over the strait if they're still worried about people having to pay tolls to the Iranians, right? So that means that, basically, hey, don't worry about it if you have to pay tolls. We have a big chunk of change here. We have a big fund, and we'll be able to repay you out of that. That doesn't say that you have control both over the strait or the Iranians in these negotiations. That's the first thing that it tells me right there. But not only that, but obviously the fact that they're willing to use these funds where the Iranians want these funds back is probably going to be a problem if, in fact, these talks ever get to that point of, actually talking and not shooting. But it also says that the following resumptions of U.S. strikes against Iran, with more expected tonight. So obviously threatening the ongoing attacks, just like Pete Hegseth, just like Donald Trump, as you'll see. But I feel like this is going to create some problems if it hasn't already. So let's see here. There was also some other updates. Oh yeah, about apparently Elon Musk has now made its way into the ire of the IRGC. It says in a notable announcement, Iran's state-backed news agency Fars has said that the Iranians' decision makers have expanded their list of targets across the region to include, quote, all interest associated with the economic holdings managed by Elon Musk in West Asia. And it says this includes Arab countries as well, per the report. And I'm thinking that he's got some, I don't know, Tesla or Starlink infrastructure in, I think they said it was Israel, Qatar, Jordan, UAE, and Oman. He's got some infrastructure and telecommunications. So whether or not now that's going to be on the target list for the IRGC, for the Iranians, remains to be seen, but at least it's something that they're threatening, they're announcing here, like it says here, posted by Fars news agency. Iran has updated its bank of targets for further military operations, expanding it to all interests associated with the economic holdings managed by Elon Musk in West Asia, including those located in Arab countries and the occupied territory. So, we'll see what comes from that. But it seems like Elon Musk has entered the chat as far as being a target for the Iranians. What else was issued here? This says, where'd that Pentagon one just go? How'd that? Says no more. Operations at the Pentagon have resumed because they went on lockdown, apparently because they detected some poor air quality or something funny with the air quality. It says subsequent testing has revealed no hazard exists. That was just an update as far as that was concerned. But I think that was all from OSINT Defender. Let's see here. This was the Fars news as well. So this was just to show you what's coming from both sides. So you'll hear from CENTCOM that everything was shot down, everything was intercepted. The only thing that, actually impacted or made its way to its target was, United States munitions. But apparently, the other side thinks something different, because this is saying from Fars news agency that 70% of targets successfully hit in Wednesday's dawn operation against U.S. bases. So like I said, it's been reported about 5 of them were hit. But what else was this one? There was another one here I wanted to take a look at. So there was this one, and let's see here. Downplays the rhetoric. I thought there was one more from this that I wanted to take a look at from Fars, but I could be mistaken. So it's 70%. Repeated ceasefire violations by U.S. Israel's undermined diplomatic efforts. I think there was one more. If I'm not crazy, I think there was one other thing on this that I wanted to point out, but if not, we'll see if we can dive on to the next one, because there was some statements by Galabaf and others about what was, what's been taking place to kind of show us, maybe the direction or lack of direction that this is going to take going on in the future here. Military officials stress Iranian armed forces fully readiness to deliver painful response to the U.S. Strait of Hormuz closed until further notice. I could have sworn there was one other one. Maybe it was the Elon Musk thing, to tell you the truth. Might have been them also reporting this, to tell you the truth. Yeah, it might have been. Iran has updated its bank of targets like we just talked about. So I think that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. But here is a little bit of footage, apparently, from last night. This says today morning footage shows the passage of 3 Iranian ballistic missiles out of 10 intercepted by Patriot air defense systems that attempted to counter them at the El Azraq base, and named after Moaf Aksalti in Jordan. So let's see if we could just dive into that real quick, see what we can. So it looks like you can see incoming and the Patriot missiles coming up at the same time. You can see a few of them impacting. Looks like that one made it through, is what the arrow is showing you. So if you go back through, you can see the incoming, right? And then you can see the, the outgoing, interceptors going up. And what the arrow is pointing out is the ones that make it through, apparently. So that one wasn't intercepted. You can still see it going down here, right? Another one making it through. Apparently this one makes it through as well. You can see that one coming down there. So that's what that's pointing out. I think it was just kind of calculating how many of them got through as well. But let me see. There was another thing on this. Here was the one from the radar that we were looking at. This is the U.S. long-range radar station at the Jabal al-Duncan in Bahrain remains ablaze. So this shows it beforehand, and this shows, the after effects of the apparent Iranian retaliation. And again, like I said, this is the before. We've seen, I think now, a couple of those different installations hit, and obviously they're expensive installations, and that just adds to the, the ongoing destruction of the bases that apparently continue to be hit night after night by these Iranian retaliations. Let's see if there's anything else here that we could take a look at. I know a lot of them are going to be talking about Trump's interview with Fox News, but I have a little bit of that coming up later, so I won't have to bore you with that just yet. This says preliminary reports on the downing of an Israeli drone in Nahla Heights, east of Lebanon. I think that really pertains to that, really. So that might be it from that. Let me see what Drop Site News has, because this was the one reporting on the bases. It says the IRGC says it's targeted 5 U.S. military bases in Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain in the attacks on Wednesday and Thursday. So we're talking about the Al Salt Air Base in Jordan, the Ahmad Al Jabir Air Base in Kuwait, the Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait, the U.S. 5th Fleet Headquarters in Bahrain, and the Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain as well. Footage purported unconfirmed of the attack shared by Iranian state media is attached. So like I said, take a lot of this footage, or at least some of the footage that you see going around online, with a grain of salt. I think I was 100% correct yesterday. If I recall correctly, I was showing some of the footage from this. One of the pieces of footage didn't really look right, didn't seem to be from the attacks last night, didn't seem to really add up. So, I told you guys that, and it turns out that was right. I think I saw it reported that a lot of the footage, or at least some of the footage that was going around on social media, was from either previous attacks or from attacks in different areas of the Gulf nations to begin with. So, like I said, make sure you do kind of the due diligence, and that's why I'd say take a lot of this reporting with a grain of salt, But this is, again, the reporting from the IRGC claiming that they targeted 5 U.S. military bases, and those are the bases. So I just wanted to make sure. Let's see if there's anything else Drop Site has here. Some Indian media reporting is an attack, remains unconfirmed. This is talking about, I believe there was some deaths associated, if I saw that correctly just before I came on, some deaths associated with the striking of one of these tankers. Let's see here if I could see that one. Did I see it on Drop Site? Let's see, Maritime Advisory reporting that the U.S. struck targeted 150-ton cargo from Sarik, Iran, in the Gulf of Oman earlier today. The vessel was reportedly transiting essential goods from Kasab, Oman, to Sarik. All 5 crew members were rescued by passing boats and safely brought to Oman. So it wasn't that one. Wasn't that one. And again, I don't want to say it without confirming. I thought that I saw something just before I came on about that, but like I said, I haven't confirmed that just yet. Let's see. Anything else on this one that we needed to dive into? A randomly established body. Nope, I think that was it. And then there was one here that I wanted to point out from OSINT Technical as well. What do you guys notice about these targets, right? And again, this is probably just, some of the targets here. But what do you guys notice about these specific targets? Look where they are. They are literally either bordering or smack dab in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. So what question does this ask, right? What question does this beg? Like, you got to ask yourself, why the fuck are these still targets? Like, we've talked about, what did they say? 20,000 targets they've struck, right? They've eliminated the Navy. They've taken out the Air Force, right? They've eliminated all of the missile and drone sites. Like, why are these things still things? Right? Why is Qasem Island being hit for the fucking 900th time? Why is Bandar Abbas? Like, these are the same things that we hear night after night. Sariq, Bandar Abbas, Manab, Hengam Island, Qasem Island, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that you could go out there and promote yourself as having achieved victory militarily, right? Completely eradicated the enemy militarily, and then again speak about them shooting down Apaches, which we'll get into in just a bit. Talk about how they've targeted F-16s, F-35s, F-15s, 5 different U.S. bases. The amount of damage that they've caused at the Fifth Fleet and all of these other bases that continue to take a pounding, even though they've been pretty much deserted at this point, to the point where the United States doesn't even know what damage is occurring there. They have to wait till this is all done to get in there and finally take a look around, if in fact they ever get back onto those bases. But it's striking to me that we still have radar installations. We still have different Navy installations, obviously in Qasem, different tunnels that are being utilized by what Navy they say they don't have. Like, why are these still fucking targets to be struck? If Pete fucking Dick Seth, right, if he's so unbelievable at war, why this long into this war, 100 and something days, is Qasem Island still have any activity on it, right? Why is Bandar Abbas still able to have any military activity coming from that? Why are they still able to lob drones from Manab if that's why they're striking it? Why do they have radar installations in fucking Sariq if that's what's going on? Like, why is that a thing? You got to ask that question. And it's obviously because we don't have the military we don't have the military power. We're not, it's not the overwhelming military fucking feat that the Trump administration and Pete Hegseth want you to believe is what's going on, right? There seems to be a limitation to United States military power, and it seems to be being exposed by the Iranians right now. Right. Pete Hegseth loves to say that the Strait of Hormuz is open and it's under our control. Well, guess what? If it's under our control, we fucking suck at controlling it. Right, because we have, and if this is you're taking Donald Trump's word for it, just a fraction, right, a fucking fraction of the traffic that used to come through the strait, again, before we enacted this war, that's coming through right now. And that's even if you take their word for it, which nobody does at this point in time. But I thought it was very telling. Not only that, but we'll get into, when we speak about the helicopter crash, the fact that, if this in fact did take place, the way that Donald Trump says, and what's almost impossible for it to have taken place like that. But why did they wait? Why did they make these pilots wait 2 hours to get rescued by a sea drone when it's never been done in the history of warfare, apparently, instead of, again, sending over a Black Hawk, sending over, a rescue plane, whatever they could do that would got there a lot fucking quicker, but apparently would have exposed military service members to the military capabilities that the Iranians still have to shoot down our aircraft. So that's what that tells me, but we'll get into that in just a second as well. So this is from, again, I told you we'd get into this. This is from True Social. This is the True Social post that everybody's talking about. Trump posted this. What does it say? The 11th at 8:22 a.m. So it says the United States will be hitting Iran in parentheses, whose Navy, whose is capitalized. Navy is also capitalized for some goddamn reason. But then again, air and force is also capitalized. And so is radar and anti and aircraft. Well, you get the point. So, and all other forms of defense together with the most of its offensive capabilities are gone. Very hard tonight, being capitalized. Sorry to bring up that visualization in your head, but at some point in the not too distant future, we will be taking Karg Island, and other oil infrastructure points as we assume total control of their oil and gas markets. So he says, once again, threatening an invasion, right? That's what it is. Karg Island being Iranian territory. So, if we have to take over Karg Island, that's assuredly going to include boots on the ground. It's probably going to include more troops and more capabilities than we in fact have in the area right now. Whether Donald Trump knows that or will listen to his military commanders that are probably telling him the same goddamn thing as they have been for quite some time, which is probably the reason why they haven't done it yet. But again, if that takes place and they throw some boots on the ground and the Iranians start lobbing drones and missiles into Karg Island and this thing turns into a real shit show, even beyond what we're looking at right now, he's saying now that they're going to go in and further control their oil and gas markets, their infrastructure points, right, after striking another water treatment facility that's responsible for getting, some 20,000 plus people their drinking water. But no big deal, right? I mean, like you said, it's only drinking water in the Middle East. How fucking important could it possibly be? Anyway, he goes on to say here that much like we have in Venezuela, again, the fact that he still doesn't recognize the difference, not only the religious difference, but obviously the way that the military is handled, both in Venezuela and Iran, seems to be a huge fucking problem. Like, things haven't gone even remotely the way that they went with Venezuela, and it's for a goddamn reason, much like we expected, much like we predicted it was going to happen. They're a lot more hardlined, let's just say. They're a lot more, religiously affiliated. They have more strong beliefs, let's just say, than the Venezuelans, on a wider basis. But he also says, which is working out brilliantly for both the Venezuela and the United States of America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that was the post there by Donald Trump everybody's talking about, where he again talks about invasion, probably not the best thing to do as you're looking to engage in some negotiations or a peace deal or some announcement of possible, maybe in the future, a peace deal type of thing. But again, that's the way that it goes, and also threatening once again the bombing tonight as well, to make it, what did that be, like 3, 4 nights, 5 nights in a row at this point in time. But this is as he's telling people that he loves inflation. But this is, again, you've heard him say that this like really secret mission has been taking place. They've been secretly sneaking oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz at night under the cover of darkness, right? So if you take that into account, if you really believe that Donald Trump's saying that, he actually says this, and his energy secretary, right, what's his name, Chris Wright or something, has no fucking clue. So I'm going to play here where Donald Trump, like an idiot, apparently decides to tell Iran about this plan that's going on, that he's enacting behind the scenes, that if you take his word for it, seems to be working, but now the Iranians know about it, so it might be a little bit more difficult to enact at this point. But this is where he says not only does he love inflation, right, inflation being the highest it's been in 3 years, and again, if you go back and look before 2023, it's fucking, it's a long ways before you look at, the inflation rate in 4.2%, and basically the way that Donald Trump has been directly responsible for getting us into this economic situation. You got to go back a pretty good ways. But here he is saying that he, quote, loves inflation, which is a quote right up there with, I don't give a shit about the plight of the American people. I don't care what like extra cost this is costing the American people. Right up there with that. So where he says, I love inflation. Also talking about the 22 ships of oil last night and the ones that he's been bringing through the Strait of Hormuz. And then we'll jump into where apparently his energy secretary has absolutely no fucking idea what Donald Trump's talking about. Okay. So here he is, just a real quick clip of Trump saying that he loves inflation and revealing to the world about this, secret plan that he's been enacting to get ships through the Strait of Hormuz, apparently. Oh, hold on. Let me put it on the screen. I almost fucked up. My apologies. Caught myself. All right, here we go.
About the latest inflation number, which came out this morning. Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why?
Yeah.
Because as soon as this war is over, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now.
So there he is, apparently letting the world know that they've been sneaking out hundreds of millions of barrels of oil and saying that nobody knows. And you know how I know that nobody knows? Because apparently his own energy secretary, I think it's Chris Wright is the guy's name, an utter dickhead himself, has no friggin' clue what Donald Trump's talking about. because he was questioned about this, and we'll just play this clip here where he looks like a tool bag. And you know, who's this asking him? It says Sykes. Who's the one that's asking him? My apologies, it's not listed here, but she does a pretty good job of putting him on the spot here. So I'll play this really quickly of, again, the energy secretary having no clue what Donald Trump is talking about as far as this like secret mission they've been enacting, you know, when the sun goes down to get millions of barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. But here you go.
Let me ask you this other question. Are you aware that the United States was taking millions of barrels of gasoline?
Let me know in the chat what her name is. My apologies. Let me know in the chat.
From Iran in the Strait of Hormuz?
We are preventing the flow of Iranian oil through the Strait of Hormuz.
That is not the question that I just asked you. Were you aware that the United States has been taking millions of gallons of oil from the Strait of Hormuz?
Just not sure taking is the right word. We're preventing the flow of it.
Well, thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may, can I play some audio from some comments that President Trump made in the Oval Office? Okay.
The numbers were great.
I don't think we've heard this.
I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out
Let's suspend
millions
that,
of barrels
please.
of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran until right now.
So the dickhead fucking, I don't know, what did he do that on purpose? Because he just happened to bang the gavel at the exact moment where Donald Trump says that they were taking hundreds of millions of barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz at night, which is, again, directly related to the question that she's asking this asshole. And he has no idea, he has no clue what she's talking about, right? It's just not even registering in his head what she's talking about, or he's directly trying to obfuscate from the question because it's so friggin' ridiculous, and it's either not taking place or not to the impact and to the effect that Trump claimed. Something's going on here, but you know, he's either dodging it directly or he has no clue. He's just totally left in the dark again as Trump's energy secretary.
Mr. Secretary, it seems like you didn't know about this either. So why would the United States be taking out millions of barrels of oil from Iran?
Well, it's essential that we prevent oil sales from generating revenue for Iran to spend to develop nuclear weapons and oppress
Mr.
their
Secretary,
people.
I understand this might be an uncomfortable line of questioning and you don't want to do it, but you are not answering my question. So I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to hope that you will answer.
Again, she does a good job of kind of, you know, not letting them fucking escape the question, right? She's kind of holding his feet to the fire here. She's doing it nicely. She's very polite. She's calm. She's not yelling. She played the clip. You know, the guy with the gavel tried his best to try to, you know, make it so that clip could make it into record, so that the sound was kind of muffled a little bit. But she's doing a pretty good job here. And again, like I said, he either just doesn't have a fucking clue or he's directly trying to dodge the question himself.
Did you know that the United States was taking millions of gallons of oil from Iran?
I'm unaware.
So do you think that the president is lying based on the audio that you just heard? And I will send it to you in case you say you didn't hear it.
Oh, no, I do not think the president's lying. I think the president's talking casually about our efforts.
So he's not lying, but you have no idea what he's talking about, right? You're just not in the loop of these hundreds of millions of barrels of oil that have been snuck through the Strait of Hormuz on a nightly basis now for, what is Donald Trump saying? What did he say, weeks or months at this point? I think he said something like that. You know, it's over a pretty long period of time that he's now announcing that this has been going on to the world. Again, why the fuck you would announce that? Because it's not like the war's over. It's not like the strait's open. So why you would tell people now and not just continue doing that is beyond me. But again, he's no fucking military genius, as we've seen. But the fact that he doesn't know, right? He either feels like an utter dickhead for being out of the loop, or he knows that it's completely false. So he doesn't want to go on record here and say anything that he could be held to account later on.
Stop the flow of
Do you
Iranian
think
oil,
that
and
war
we're
is
stopping those
casual?
tankers
Do you
from
think
flowing.
that it is appropriate to talk casually about war?
I think you talk to all different audiences and you talk in all different styles. But I don't have any serious objection to what he said.
You don't have any.
It's not about having an objection. It's about, is it fucking true or is it not true? And if it's true, did you know about it? If it's not true, why the hell is he saying it? You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with rhetoric or jargon or, you know, what you can get away with during war or talking like in a fucking locker room or manly speak or, you know, your bravado or how big is your dick compared to mine. It has nothing to do with that. Is it fucking true? Is it not true? If it's true, why the hell are you on the outside? Why the hell don't you know about it? And if it's not true, what the fuck is he talking about? The old senile prick. Right. That's, I think, what she's getting at. She's not asking quite in those terms. You know, I feel like I could maybe that's probably a worse job. I don't know if that would get me anywhere, but I would really enjoy saying it in these committee hearings. I could assure you, and you guys would love the clips. I could tell you.
Objection for someone talking about war casually. Do you have that objection? There are 13 service people who are dead. There are hundreds more that are injured, but we should be talking about war casually.
He treats this war deadly serious, and he has worked tirelessly on this war.
Mr. Secretary,
you know what? He must be right, though, because it must be very tiring to almost 40 different times now have Barack Ravid crawl out of your anus to make up this like ridiculous fucking talking point and story of a peace deal being right around the corner, and then having Barack Ravid live inside your anus for these months that this war has been going. It must be tiring, I gotta say, especially to a guy that apparently never sleeps at night and waits till he gets in front of a camera, waits until he gets into these very important committee meetings, you know, with these very desperate and serious situations going on. That's apparently when he chooses to sleep, and everybody should be like apparently clapping because he doesn't sleep at night. If you listen to Republicans, it's weird. It's definitely weird, but cults are weird. So that's typically what happens. All right, let's dive into a little bit of this because again, it's you know, a little bit would just continue in the ridiculousness of this administration. So this is Jesse Waters. Should I play this first or should I play this first? What was the let's see here. Was it that one or was it this one? Okay, we'll play the Jesse Waters. We'll play the Jesse Waters one. Sorry. Like I said, I have so much pulled up. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to play in which spot. But like I said, we'll call out the Jesse Waters, who again is gargling Trump's balls, trying to pull some victory out of the jaws of defeat again with these new bombings that are taking place and trying to make it seem like Trump's no sucker. Trump's not a sucker. He's just going to keep bombing and killing people and expending our stockpiles with absolutely no benefit. You know, time and time again, we've hit these same fucking installations. We've hit these same sites. You know, we should probably learn from our mistakes. Like if we continue to hit the Kashem Island, if we continue to hit these different radar installations and different sites and they continue to be able to use them, maybe we should try different tactics. I'm just saying, or just kind of, you know, recognize that none of it is working to the effect of bringing them to the negotiating table. And definitely last night's strikes aren't going to do that. If we continue them again tonight, it's not going to do that. Like, but Jesse Waters desperate here to try to find some like alpha, bravado, war beating, my dick is bigger than yours type of rhetoric to come out of the bombings from last night. So what do you say we call his little bitch ass out? All right, hit that like button. My name's Brian. I appreciate you guys. This is Blunt Politics, and we're calling out Jesse Waters on Fox Propaganda.
Fox News alert: for the second night in a row, the United States is bombing Iran. Not in retaliation for them downing the Apache, but to pump up. All
right. So remember that. Not in retaliation for them downing the Apache. That was, I think, the second sentence he said in this clip. So it's not in retaliation for them downing the Apache. Keep that in your little brain bucket coming up, okay?
Negotiations. CENTCOM hitting all targets along the Strait of Hormuz, islands, and military installations on the coast, including air defense systems, radar, and drone command and control units.
Why do they still have drone command and control units in and around the Strait of Hormuz? 100 and something days into this war, why the fuck do they still have radar installations and command and control centers in and around the Strait of Hormuz, Jesse? Is that a question you're going to ask yourself? Is that not something you feel like an absolute dickbag reporting on a nightly basis? While then again, the next night having to announce that they're still utilizing those same islands, those same places, those same platforms, those same drones, those same missiles, right? Or they downed another F-15, they downed or struck or targeted another F-35, or no, they downed another Apache. Like, at what point do you feel like an utter dickbag? I'm curious. Is there no shame, whatsoever that you could feel?
Sources say the president's considering an operation that is big in scale but short in duration.
Yep.
You posted this morning about
I think that's exactly how he describes his sex game as well. Big in scale, short in duration. So not so much about the duration, but, it's the motion in the ocean.
You said that they've taken too long to get to a deal. I want to make sure I quoted you correctly. You said that now they will have to pay the price.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that specifically?
Well, we're going to be attacking them very hard.
Last night's airstrikes were in
Very
response.
hard. Very hard. It's going to be very hard. If it's not hard, you can't attack them. Can't attack them while you're soft. Got to attack them while you're hard.
To an Iranian drone hitting a U.S. helicopter. The fact that
Hold on. Remember? Hold on. Go back 1 second. What did you just say? So hold on. I think I have a drop for that, right? Yeah. What's he usually say?
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
Yeah. Gotta be hard. Can't be soft. Gotta be hard. But listen to Jesse Waters, right? Second sentence he said in this clip was, this was, I believe, now I'm getting all mixed up. I think he said it was in retaliation for the Apache strike. And now listen to the next sentence that he says here. Play.
Well, we're going to be attacking them and attacking them very hard.
Last night's airstrikes were in response to an Iranian drone hitting a U.S. helicopter.
What? You said in the second sentence that it wasn't in retaliation for that. Right? Am I tripping? Right? I mean, we're less than a minute into this. It's been 46 seconds, and somehow he's already come out with two contradictory statements, right? I'm pretty sure. Listen to the second statement, right? Listen to the second statement he comes out with.
Fox News alert: for the second night in a row, the United States is bombing Iran. Not in retaliation for them downing the Apache.
Not in retaliation for them downing the Apache, okay? So it's definitely not in retaliation for them downing the Apache. But if we go to right here, we'll just hear him what he says next.
They're very hard.
Last night's airstrikes were in response to an Iranian drone hitting a U.S. helicopter.
What? Am I hello? What? I mean, how? I know old people watch Fox News, but come on. Like, even they, through their fucking hearing aids that they got, probably ordered through a commercial on Fox News, should be able to recognize that he just contradicted himself in literally the first 46 seconds of this. So it was also not in retaliation, but also in retaliation for that Apache strike. So again, we'll have it both ways. Can we have our cake and eat it too? Apparently.
The fact that the two pilots survived and were rescued was a miracle.
Yeah, we'll look at that. We're going to look at how much of a miracle this was that a Shahed drone somehow got lodged in between the two pilots of an Apache AH-64 helicopter. And we'll do a little bit of deep diving just after Jesse's done making a fool of himself here. But boy, oh boy, what a miracle that would have been. Didn't happen that way. Donald Trump said it happened that way, but it would have been a miracle, almost statistically impossible, to tell you the truth.
The president called it a miracle. This drone hits the Apache helicopter, lodges between the two pilots. It's on fire, and there's a massive amount of heat coming out of the drone.
Like fucking Looney Tunes. It was the Wile E. Coyote came in on a Shahed drone, and it flew into fucking Porky the Pig's Apache. And what happened is it got lodged just in between fucking Porky the Pig and who else? And I don't know, pick another character. They were flying the Apache, and luckily the drone had a face on it, and it was able to talk. And because it was a drone face and a Disney character, it kind of just backed its way out of that. They safely landed on the water. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It lodged itself. You know how big a Shahed drone is? It just lodged itself in between the two pilots in a fucking Apache, which is sitting, leg to back in and about, this big of an enclosure if we're going widthwise. Like, come on. What the fuck are we talking about? Shut up. I'll let him finish, and then we'll go on to a little bit of the, just the quick investigatory work that I did to see if this was even remotely possible, okay?
But it doesn't explode. And these pilots very quickly...
Yeah, again, it didn't explode. The 50-kilogram warhead, that's another thing. Not only did it manage... the fucking Apache somehow managed to fly into the Shahed drone, right? It managed to lodge itself in between the two pilots. Somehow, on top of that, the 50 kg warhead didn't detonate, right? And they were able to somehow safely put that down in the sea. So, again, if you believe that, I got a bunch of bridges that I want to, definitely sell you at some point, definitely soon, please.
Because they're flying very low, take the helicopter down into the sea.
Yep.
And then ultimately, about 2 hours later, according to U.S. Central Command, they are rescued for the first time.
Yeah, they wanted to get a tan. They wanted them to they wanted to be able to enjoy the Strait of Hormuz for a couple hours. I mean, why rush in, really, right? You don't want to just throw a Blackhawk in there, get them out of there, in and out of there in about half hour, which is probably the response time possible if you don't send in an unmanned sea drone from, again, wherever the closest position that they were able to launch that sea drone. If it takes it 2 hours, I think you could probably do some calculations if you know the exact speed as to how far away that drone was launched from. So again, showing that they don't have, the trust, they don't have the ability to hang or loiter closer to the Strait of Hormuz, obviously because of Iran's military capabilities. But, they just figured they'd let him bob around in the Strait for a couple hours before they sent in the sea drone just for the fuck of it. You know what I mean? Just see if they could break a Guinness World Record, apparently. Why risk a pilot and some rescuers in there and a Blackhawk to get them out of there quicker than 2 hours, right?
History by an unmanned sea drone.
Iran's lucky our men didn't die, because if they had, Trump promised to turn Iran into a parking lot.
But unfortunately, we don't have the stockpile to do so, and that would be at least the 13th time that he's threatened to turn Iran into a parking lot. So apparently, the deaths of American service members is right on par with, I don't know, any one of the other things that's frustrated Donald Trump enough to threaten the entire civilization of Iran, because he's done it several times at this point.
The ceasefire barely holding. CENTCOM.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You ceasefires barely. What's playing right next to him? You dickbag. You absolute degenerate dickbag. He's quite literally showing fucking plane launches, right? Aircraft launching off an aircraft carrier, going to fucking bomb sites in and around the Strait of Hormuz, right? He's talking about missile launches, right? He's talking about downed Apaches. We've reported on the 5 different sites, right? He's got the fucking footage going on next to him, but he's also calling it a ceasefire still. Like, what a dickbag you have to be. Unbelievable. But all right, let's dive into a little bit of what they were just talking about, okay, which is this, apparent miracle, in midair, which is the Apache that ran into the Shahed drone, and apparently it just happened to get lodged directly in between the pilot and co-pilot, and they managed to just, bring it safely and gently down into the Strait of Hormuz, only to bob in the Strait of Hormuz for about 2 hours before an unmanned drone managed to pick them up. But I'm going to throw this on the screen, because I just did a little, quick searches, quick little fact checks here, see what I could pull up, right? So I said, give me like an image of what this would look like. I want to compare, the accurate size of a Shahed to the size of an Apache. And I think the first one that it brought up, I think it's maybe detailing the Shahed to be a little bit too big, right? So if you look at, let me pull this one up, because this might show you a little better just right off the bat. So this is what I found on Facebook. So this is from a Russian Shahed in Ukraine. But you can see, the inaccurate size comparison between the Shahed in the foreground and obviously the vehicle in the background. So a pretty substantial thing. This isn't like a small FPV drone. I think it's about, I want to say 8.5 feet for a wingspan, something around that. It says, and it details in the answers that I was given back, but just to show you kind of a visual representation of the size of a Shahed drone. All right, so let's go back to this. Okay, so I think that might be depicting it a little bigger, but anyway, not really the important part. I said here, it goes on and says, for further explanation of the concept include, and what I said, what's the first thing I said? Yeah, I said, please run an AI simulation of a Shahed drone striking an Apache helicopter, and what is the likelihood of it getting lodged in the helicopter while not injuring the pilots, using a size comparison and obviously the explosive charges. Keep that in mind. So it spit back at me. It said, the likelihood of a Shahed 136 drone becoming physically lodged inside an AH-64 Apache helicopter while leaving the pilots entirely uninjured, which is what Donald Trump said. They felt a little heat, right? They felt a little heat. Apparently, he wants you to believe the nose of the drone was like right up against the fucking pilot's face, apparently, because there's really no other space for it. But that's what he wants you to believe. But it says here, the Apache helicopter, if it hit the Shahed while leaving the pilots entirely uninjured, is extraordinarily low, bordering on statistically impossible. All right. It says, while an actual midair collision between a U.S. Army AH-64 Apache and an Iranian made Shahed loitering munition occurred near the Strait of Hormuz, the physics of such an impact make a, quote, dud lodging, which is what Trump said it did, with zero pilot injury scenario highly unlikely due to the massive size differences, the structure of the aircraft, and the explosive payload of the drone. So it goes on with an analysis and a breakdown and the size comparison. So we go on. It says the target, an AH-64 Apache. It features a slender, heavily segmented fuselage, roughly 15 meters or 49 feet long. The cockpit area itself is narrow, seating the pilot and co-pilot, the gunner, in a tandem front-to-back configuration rather than side by side. So the pilot, I believe the knees of the pilot go to the back of the gunner, if I'm not mistaken. Also says that the threat, explaining the threat on the other side, is the Shahed. Excuse me. It says this is not a small commercial quadcopter. helicopter. It is a large flying wing aircraft with a wingspan of 2.5 meters, about 8.2 feet, and a length of 3.5 meters, or roughly 11 feet. So again, not the small drones that, a lot of people may be thinking about. It says that because the Shahed is nearly as wide as the Apache's entire main fuselage section, it physically cannot lodge cleanly inside the cockpit like a small projectile. An impact against the cockpit would result in the drone's massive wings wrapping around or shearing off against the airframe, transferring severe kinetic energy capable of crushing structural pillars or shattering the canopy. Says the explosive payload. What would happen? What's the likelihood that that doesn't go off, right? Says that the warhead, the nose cone of the Shahed drone, houses a massive 50 kilogram or 110 pound high explosive fragmentation charge. This is roughly equivalent to 5 155 millimeter artillery shells, right? So a pretty substantial boom. The fusing. So this talks about how it's fused and how it goes off. It says these drones utilize highly reliable. So it made it very clear that they were highly reliable impact fuses located at the tip of the nose cone. Simulation dynamics. It says for the drone to get lodged without exploding, the impact fuse would have to suffer a catastrophic mechanical failure upon striking a military-grade aircraft at speeds exceeding 150 kilometers or 93 miles an hour. If the warhead detonates anywhere near that cockpit, the blast wave and overpressure would immediately bypass the helicopter's armor, resulting in fatal injuries to the crew. So basically saying if that thing went off and the unlikelihood that it didn't go off, it would basically have to suffer a catastrophic mechanical failure at the same time that it collided. I think it comes up with 155 kilometers or 93 miles an hour here, based on the likelihood of what the helicopter was flying at, the speed of the drone as well. But basically, it's unlikely that that wouldn't happen. It would have to get lodged and not blow up, right, at the same time. Like, we're talking about remote possibilities, if that. So it also goes on to talk about the cockpit armor versus the kinetic energy, right? So even if it didn't blow up, would the impact, would the strike and the size of the drone, would that go to injure the pilot or co-pilot in this, if in fact that did take place? So it says the Apache cockpit is a legendary survival cell. It uses boron carbide composite armor plates and a Kevlar lining designed to withstand heavy machine gun fire and anti-aircraft artillery shrapnel. The pilots are also separated internally by a blast-resistant acrylic shield. The drone structure, the Shahed, consists of a lightweight composite fiberglass shell over a central engine. If we simulate a dud scenario, so the explosive fails to detonate, the drone's nose cone would strike the armored glass or the composite side panels. Rather than sliding neatly between the pilots, the drone would either it would bounce off or slide off the highly angled reinforced cockpit or greenhouse, the plexiglass, while it would say they smash the thin side canopy plexiglass, while the boron carbide seat plates protect the pilots' backs and sides from shrapnel. A 200 kilogram or 440 pound object hitting the canopy directly would cave in the framework, crushing the occupants through kinetic energy alone, even without an explosion. Right, so this goes on to give like a final likelihood and assessment, different scenarios in the reality check. If it goes off with a normal detonation, warhead explodes on the frame of the cockpit. Obviously, it's going to be fatal for both occupants. This talks about the scenario being a dud impact. The drone deflects off the boron carbide armor or rotator blades. It obviously would go on to cause severe injury in a crash for the helicopter. And this says dud impact, direct lodging. Drone penetrates canopy frame, but fails to explode. Fatal, severe structural collapse or kinetic crushing of the pilot. So even if that did take place, the dud and the direct lodging, you could almost be certain that there would be either a fatality or a very severe injury taking place to the pilot and the co-pilot. So like I said, whether or not you think we have the tinfoil hat on, we talked about the last time the United States reported that the pilots were downed and how that was thought to be, kind of a maneuver to cover up for something else in the background, right? So, I'm just saying it just doesn't make sense to me, and we're just kind of calling out what Donald Trump stated. This went, whether or not this was, kind of a ricochet, if in fact they kind of glanced off each other to a point where it did just disable the helicopter enough. But that's not what Donald Trump stated, right? Donald Trump stated that it got lodged in between the pilots. They felt the fucking heat. They could smell the flames and, all the bullshit that he said. And it was, a miracle that they were able to land, when in fact, did they just run into each other? And like I said, maybe it damaged the blades or the rotor in the back to a point where they could no longer fly it. I'm sure the story of what actually took place and obviously with Donald Trump, the story that Donald Trump was selling are two totally and completely different things. But, to a point where there was enough red flags raised where I was like, I got to check this out. That's just something don't fucking smell right. It doesn't seem like that's even remotely possible. Right, the small space in between the pilot and the gunner, the narrowness of the cockpit, the size of a fucking Shahed. I mean, the biggest story of this, and I think why Donald Trump is trying to say it happened the way he says it happened, is to take away from the fact that the Iranians are still able to target what is supposed to be a highly complicated, highly effective helicopter and an Apache there. So I think the idea that like this miracle took place and the fucking drone somehow lodged itself directly in between the pilot and co-pilot, and a miracle that the fucking bomb didn't explode and the warhead didn't go off. Like I think that's supposed to overshadow the fact that the Iranians still again have the capabilities to shoot down an aircraft like this. But here's a moment on Fox News I want to throw on here, and my apologies for having to subject you to this, but there's a few moments within this little phone call that he had that we definitely need to call out. Again, threatening further bombings, further missile strikes going on, and obviously some other crazy moments as well. So just a couple minutes of this, and then we'll dive into some updates coming from Ukraine. But I did want to make sure to bring this to you guys as well. So let me throw this on here. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, we'll only go through a couple minutes of this, and this is a phone call between Donald Trump and I don't know what these assholes call themselves. Is this Fox and Friends, I think? Yeah, I think it's Fox and Friends. But all right, let's see what we can call out here. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. My name's Brian. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast, and I fucking really, really do appreciate you for joining me here. And it would be, even greater, more appreciated if you did go, in fact, that extra mile and hit that like button. All right? Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Well, I'll say it this way, that it's almost an ultimatum now, that there's no more negotiation at this point. You went back and forth with them. You gave them 2 weeks. And now
when was the negotiation to begin with? I'm sorry, because I remember, the Iranians putting out something. I remember Trump putting out something. I remember Trump, like I said, almost 40 different times saying that there was negotiations happening and something was going on right around the corner. But where was the actual talks? Where was this moment where we were actually close to a peace deal? Because I don't recall that ever happening.
The deal that you have offered them, that you tried to negotiate in good faith, or everything goes and the people can be liberated. Is that what
tried to negotiate in good faith? We bombed a girls' school. You know what I mean? Committed war crimes. Then we threatened to take out their bridges. We threatened to take out their infrastructure. We threatened to take out their water supply. We threatened to take out their gas and oil fields. We threatened to take out more of their leadership. We threatened to take out their entire civilization. So obviously, I think I'd calculate that. We could chalk that up to negotiating in good faith, right? Fucking again, it's just like you must have to throw your soul in a bucket when you work at Fox Propaganda. Like there must be like a soul bucket in the morning, and you must have to just like undress real quick, throw your soul in a bucket. That way you can continue on with the lies, the bullshit, and the propaganda all day, and your soul doesn't get affected somehow. That way you can still go home to your family and somehow get a good night's sleep like these dickheads do. I'm not sure what happens. I'm just assuming it goes something like that.
And now,
well, that could happen if we want to keep going. And, the deal is a very good deal. The problem with the deal is that it could be the greatest deal in history. They could wave the white flag of surrender. They could say, we surrender, we're finished, we've had it. The United States is the greatest power. Praise be to Allah. And they could do all of this. They could say it loud and clear. And the fake news would say it was a great victory for Iran.
Now, when does that happen? When are they waving that white flag? I know you keep talking about it like it's coming any day, and almost like you speak about it like it's already happened in some cases. So when are they going to be waving that white flag? I think the world is kind of wondering at this point in time. When do you think that's going to happen? 2 weeks? 2 weeks, probably. He'll probably say 2 weeks.
I think I've ever seen. We're killing them. Yes, killing them. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft. We're flying planes.
Yeah, they got none of them. They got none of that, which is why we consistently have to hit, targets in and around the Strait of Hormuz, which, again, if you'll recall, ladies and gentlemen, the Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed before this, okay? So it seems like the only problems that we're trying to mitigate right now, the problems that we're trying to defend against, are the problems that we created ourselves, right? So you notice that these targets aren't, all spread out through Iran, right? We're not going after all of their, military capabilities all throughout the country. We're not trying to eradicate the IRGC's control and command centers all over the place. No, we're striking targets specifically in and around the Strait of Hormuz, Qasem Island, all of the ones that we pointed out, Bandar Abbas, right? Some a little bit further up, down the Strait of Hormuz, but still, to a large extent, right in that general area. So that's showing me that they're mostly worried, obviously, still now at this point, about the Strait of Hormuz, which I remind you was not closed, was not a problem, was not an issue, and had full flow of traffic just before Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, enacted this war. So again, we're still at a point 100 days on, trying to mitigate and trying to stop a problem that wasn't a problem before we started this, right? So we haven't even gotten to whatever goals and achievements they said that they were going to get to in the first 2 days or whatever. Like, we're still fucking around and finding out with the Strait of Hormuz at this point. I mean, obviously you guys know that, but someone should really tell Donald Trump at this point.
Ran, and they have no idea what we're there. We've knocked out all of their radar, all of their anti-aircraft. Much of their missiles, they have probably less than 20%, we think about 20%. Most of their launchers, they have the missile launchers, which are quite important.
Well, wait, I thought all the missile launches were gone. But how do they just launch a missile and drones into all of our bases? How do they just obviously get that Shahed drone up in the air to take out that Apache helicopter? I'm curious. If they're all gone, if they've all been eradicated, what do they spit them out of straws now? Is that how they're getting those drones up? Like, they just lobbing missiles out of fucking, chimneys at this point? What's going on here, Chief? What you're saying doesn't line up to what we see every single fucking night right now.
Their drone capacity is way down. You see it. I mean, it's way down.
It's way down. That's why, again, we're reporting on the fact that we had to rescue for the first time 2 pilots that were just bobbing around the Strait of Hormuz for 2 hours with a drone because we didn't want to risk fucking actual people because the Iranians' capabilities. But boy, let me tell you about the way that we've knocked out all their capabilities. But hold on, I'm getting Yep. No, yeah, we rescued them. Okay. Yeah, no, we rescued those pilots, but also we took out all of their military capabilities. How did they shoot it down? With a drone. How did they get the drone up in the air? With a drone missile launching site place that we said we eradicated. It's like, okay, what the fuck are we doing here?
They're finished. And yet
they're finished. They're finished after they just struck 5 bases, right? 12 different medium-range ballistic missiles into one site, apparently, right? All of the retaliations that we talked about, the Apache down, the F-16s, the F-35s that were targeted. And I did see there was another one, if I'm now remembering correctly, one that I was looking for. Was it in Fars? But it also said that they were they targeted a base and they also struck, according to the Iranian side, some planes that were on the ground, right? And again, you're not going to be able to verify this through CENTCOM. They're never going to tell you that. But if I can find that, now that I'm remembering that I did pull it up, I'm just not sure. It says UF military aircraft in Jordan pounded in a missile attack. Was it this one? Let me throw this on real quick just before we go back to this. I think it might have been this one. U.S. military aircraft shelters in Jordan pounded in Iran's missile attack. Then it goes on to say, was there about 18? It says targets 18 U.S. military assets. Let's see, was it this one? Share this tab instead. It says IRGC and Iranian announced series of retaliatory strikes, operations targeting U.S. military installations across West Asia in response to the latest round of American onslaught. Let's see here. The 18 key targets targeting targets belonging to the criminal U.S. military were struck and destroyed at the Ali Al Salem and Ahmad Al Jabir air bases in Kuwait, as well as the Sheikh Isa air base in Bahrain. The retaliation operations came after fresh explosions were reported across parts of the Hormozgan and the other southern regions of Iran, and as the U.S. military confirmed launching a new wave of attacks against the country. Let's see here. Does it go on to specify? Says separately, the reports of a drone operation targeting the headquarters of the 5th Fleet. I thought there was one here that I could have sworn talked about how they did. And again, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. They're reporting that they were able to successfully target a couple planes at least on the ground. But like I said, I'm just remembering that I had that pulled up. All right, let's dive back into this other one before I get off track. So my apologies.
Fake news, just like with the election. The fake news is out there saying, wow, Iran is doing just so well. Trump is doing terribly.
They're not out there saying they're doing so well. I think everybody's fucking really amazed and astonished at how poorly you're doing and how much power and respect right now that you guys have thrust into the laps of the Iranian regime. Okay, whether again that is the Gulf nations in the area now having to respect their ability to control the Strait of Hormuz or their military capabilities to again put up with a pretty long-standing fight here going in 100+ days with not only the United States but also the Israeli military. Right, their ability to withstand the blockade put on the Strait of Hormuz now by the United States. So everybody's going to have to respect that. They're going to have to appreciate that, not to mention the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we're likely to hand over if any deal does come to fruition, right? Whether that's for damages occurred because of the strikes that we've enacted in Iran or those frozen assets totaling billions and billions of dollars that the Iranians have stipulated that they want back. Right. So all of these things taken into account doesn't really paint a rosy picture. But, you know, I don't think that anybody really thought that there was a rosy picture to paint. But nobody's saying that the Iranians are like, you know, they're people are just correctly pointing out the position that we're in, the reality of the matter. Right. The Iranians seem to be getting the best of you, not only militarily, but also in the rhetoric stance, right, in the propaganda war as well. So on all of those fronts right now, you seem to be losing. You don't seem to be achieving anything militarily. We've you know, diminished our stockpiles. We've diminished the stockpiles of the interceptors of the Gulf nations to a point where even we can't enact a full-scale war like we did just before in the opening days of this, right? We could do this for 3-4 days maybe, but then after that, we're going to have to take a pause, much like, you know, I think it was Greg Kelly said in his recent video that Newsmax put out, right? Well, I think this is only going to be a day or two. Well, yeah, that's all we can afford at this fucking point. And if they don't rush to the negotiating table, being the Iranians after these 2 days of bombing, which they're never going to do, then we're right back to fucking square one, having, you know, expended, I think Donald Trump said, what'd he say, $450 million in that ballpark of munitions last night. And correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I know he put a certain price tag on the amount of munitions that were gone. He might say it in this, tell you the truth.
One of the shows for 5 minutes, haven't seen the show in a long while. This fake Joe Scarborough talking about how well Iran is doing. I'm saying, where do they come from? It's just the craziest thing. Yeah. And behind the scenes, I will tell you, they won't even dispute it, although they probably would because it makes sense. They're very good. Iran is very good at publicity, but they're not good at fighting.
So
Iran is very good at publicity, but not very good at fighting. Well, they seem to be good at both because they're kicking your ass, like I said, in the propaganda war and militarily. Like, you guys seem to be expending yourselves and putting people in harm's way and not getting anything in return. It's definitely not forcing them to the negotiating table. So far, it hasn't caused the outright collapse of the, you know, the Iranian economy. You know, it hasn't caused the uprising and revolution of the Iranian people against their fucking governments. None of those things have happened so far. So, again, to what extent you think like another 2 nights of bombing is going to do the trick is it's ridiculous. It's asinine. It's ludicrous.
I took a look, and I must tell you, they can't believe the press they're getting. They can't even believe it. Yeah. And they told me, they said, it's amazing how well we're doing in the papers. We're not doing so well. They're negotiating.
He just hates that everybody's reporting on what's going on. That's just clearly what this is happening. This is what it boils down to. He doesn't like the bad press that he's getting. So he thinks he's going to have to call out the good press that the Iranians are getting, when in reality, it's just like I said, people pointing out the facts of the matter. I don't think anybody here is like wanting to jump up and down and praise the Iranian regime by any stretch of the imagination. But in fact, you know, looking at the matter and calling out, you know, the balls and strikes as you see them is just what people are doing. We are losing. We have lost pretty much in this fucking war as far as achievements, as far as the originally stated goals, as far as the originally stated timelines. We thought that they were going to collapse. We never thought they would go after the Strait of Hormuz. There was no way in which the Iranians were going to attack the U.S. bases, and certainly they weren't going to fire into our allies in the Gulf nations, right? Definitely not, which is what Donald Trump had going through his little fucking pea brain before he went along with Benjamin Netanyahu to enact this, right? That's what Netanyahu apparently said to him or got through to him. No, don't worry. This will be over in no time. They'll have no time to react. They'll have no time to close the strait. And now look where we are, right? Now look where the fuck we are.
With us to make a deal.
Well, Mr. President,
it's hard for them because they are proud. They're very proud.
We know
been
that
the bully.
Very
they've been the bully of
he sounds like shit.
The Middle East for 47 years.
Yeah, they have.
They've been ripping off our presidents and other countries for years.
Yeah, now it's my turn to rip everybody else off, which is why I've pocketed billions and billions of dollars in my second administration.
They played Obama for a fool. The JCPOA.
Yeah, that deal that again had the International Atomic Agency in there inspecting shit on a 24-hour basis, right? Soon as that shit was pulled out of the ground from the time that it went to its final fucking destination, you had inspectors there that could record it, they could fucking videotape it, they could photograph it, right? All of those, that terrible deal that again Donald Trump has no fucking replacement for, has no concepts of a replacement for, and is the reason in which I guess he enacted this war and is getting absolutely nowhere, and in fact is bound to make a deal far worse and more fucking destabilizing than anything that he could point out as far as the JCPOA is concerned, right? And again, he's going to fork over a shitload more money, exponentially more money, guaranteed, right? He's going to make Iran, more popular. I'm saying, force people to have to respect them and their control and their power and leverage that they had more than they did before February when we enacted this fucking war. All of those things are true. A more hardlined government now in place. Same family, just a more hardline guy. Now more pissed off that we assassinated his father, right? Even more pissed off that we've committed fucking war crimes in this country, that we took out a fucking girls' school. We've killed God knows how many other members of his family, right? All of this destruction to his infrastructure, right? The fact that he's going to have to rebuild the military and the money that they're going to have to spend. You think that's going to be like a friendly relationship going forward? We're going to have like you're going to have a good, barbecue every now and again with the Iranians?
One of the worst deals I've ever seen, other than NAFTA, the NAFTA trade deal, which was maybe the worst deal ever made.
Mr. President.
But the JCPOA was a road to a nuclear weapon. Mine is a road to no nuclear weapon. Right. They can't have a nuclear. It says you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Don't forget, you had to add in buy also, because you're also very aware of the billions of dollars that you're likely have to fork over. So not only do you have to say they can't be creating a nuclear weapon themselves, but now you have to stipulate that they can't purchase a nuclear weapon. If you just hand over some $300 billion, it might be a good down payment to Russia or, somebody else in the world that may have, an extra nuke lying around, let's just say.
Not have. And I didn't like it. It wasn't strong enough because it said develop. You cannot develop. I said, no, I want buy also. So they
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
And then they agreed to it. You cannot develop or purchase a nuclear weapon.
I knew it. Like I said, when that rhetoric shift came out, it was right around when people were starting to report the ungodly sums of money that are likely, again, if any talks or deal actually come into play, that, we're going to have to give up, which is something that the Iranians have clearly been not willing to budge on, right? Something that they've stipulated, whether it's the frozen assets or, again, the return of money in damages that were suffered throughout this war because of the United States and Israel. That's something that they've said time and time again is part of whatever negotiations, whatever deal is going to go forward.
We got everything, but the press just covers it so crazily.
It's so crazy how they accurately report on, the information that they could get their hands on. They don't just outright lie about what the fuck's going on. And he goes on here. I saw a clip where, just think of this. Donald Trump, right? And I'll see if I can maybe even fast forward to it because I know we're running out of time. But Donald Trump calls Barack Ravid, right? Donald Trump calls. You can be damn sure that either Donald Trump's calling or somebody directly under Donald Trump is calling. What's his name? Trey Yingst, whatever the fucking guy's name is for Fox News that does the war reporting, right? So he goes on. He feeds the information to these people. He calls them either on their cell phone or has Stephen Chung, his communications director, filter this little memo or filter the talking points of the information that he wants them to report out there. Another deal being done, Barack, here, put that one out there. Make sure, I know it's the 38th time I'm telling you to say it, but this time it's true. Or, he'll go on to I'm forgetting the guy's name. What's it? Trey Yingst? What's the guy's name? I fucking forget at this point. Something like that. I know it's a Yingst. I know there's a Yingst in there somewhere. Were you calling me from a walkie-talkie? Did you just say? Sorry, way off track. But anyway, you'll hear it here where he's basically giving him credit for his reporting. Oh, I love the way his reporting is. He's so correct and factual. It's like you're literally feeding him the information, right? He'll then go on Fox News, repeat the information. He says it. I just got off the phone with President Trump. This is what he told me. He says it in his fucking reporting, right? So then Donald Trump watches that reporting, and then he's like, "Oh my God, this guy's the best. He's so enthusiastic, and he says such correct and accurate information." It's like he's just reporting on what you told him in the phone call. You just hung up the phone. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is this round robin of information something that actually tricks your ass? You know what I mean? Like, you're putting this into motion. Okay, hey, say this on Fox News. So then when the asshole says it on Fox News, Donald Trump sits there, watches Fox News, and is like, wow, this guy's good. I don't know where he gets this information, but he's smart. It's like, you just told him. You just got off the phone with him. He actually said that he's talking about the phone call that you had. Unreal.
No matter what I do, the press will say it was a great victory for Iran. These people are great.
Mr. President.
It's Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, Mr. President, I agree with Brian. Don't worry about it. Our viewers are watching Fox, and so they see this coverage. They're not reading the New York Times. But
don't worry about it, Mr. President. The propaganda that we put out here it's all encompassing, right? So the idiots, the morons that still watch just specifically Fox News to get their information, their news, like they don't watch other shit. They're totally in the cult, sir. They're totally captivated by the cult and the ridiculous catheter commercials that we put on during every commercial. They love those. They're real big fans of the catheter guy. Anyway, you don't have to worry about them watching like New York Times. That's ridiculous. You might actually get some sort of normal factual reporting depending on who the person reporting is, obviously, in most of these outlets. But to a large extent, going to be better than Fox News.
You've destroyed their air defense systems, their radar. Their Navy is at the bottom of the ocean.
Yep.
We know that we know
Ainsley
that
Earhart trying to get in on the tough talk. Their Navy's at the bottom of the ocean, which is apparently where that Apache helicopter is. So again, is the Iranian Fox News sitting on their couch going, yep, their Apaches are at the bottom of the ocean. Their fucking F-35s have been painted, so those things aren't worth the fucking metal they're made out of, apparently. It's like I could just picture the Iranian Fox News doing the same thing. Yep, the pilots were in the strait for 2 hours, the dickheads. It's like, of course, that's the Iranian side saying this. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
is winning this fight. But when they destroy or they shoot down one of our Apache helicopters and we strike Iranian targets and then they fire missiles at our bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and Jordan, we have to fight back. So when you say
ceasefire, right? That's what you got to say after that, Ainsley. All of those things you just reported on, all of those things being struck, all of the missiles crossing each other in mid-flight, like that's what you got to say. You got to say ceasefire. Fucking, because that's what they're still trying to call it. But I'll just let him go on. I think it's pretty close to the point where he goes on to give credit to, again, the guy that he gives the information to. Let me see here. I think it's right here.
All the anchors on Fox have been fantastic. From
Ready?
Sean to Jesse.
So he's praising Sean Hannity.
Great, everybody. Every single anchor has been great. You guys have been amazing. And Trey Yanks is a superstar. I mean, he just covers it so accurately. And I don't know Trey Yanks, but I mean, he covers it so accurately.
I don't know Trey Yanks, but he covers it so accurately. We can go right now back to the last report that Trey Yanks did, and it's directly from a phone call that he had with Donald Trump. It was in the Jesse Waters. Hold on. It was in the Jesse Waters clip, if I'm not mistaken. Ready? Let me just see here. Yep, I think it was this clip right here. Ready? Here we go. We'll just fact check. Quick fact check. Ready?
The president called it a miracle. This drone hits the Apache helicopter, lodges between the two pilots. It's on fire, and there's a massive amount of heat coming out of the drone, but it doesn't explode. And these pilots very quickly, within seconds, because they're flying very low, take the helicopter down into the sea. And then ultimately, about 2 hours later, according to U.S. Central Command, they are rescued for the first time in U.S. military history by an unmanned sea drone.
So again, that's what Trump said. He started that report with Trump said, okay? So that's clearly what Trump said. There's another one where he said in a phone call with Donald Trump, I spoke to him and this is how he said it, right? But then we go back to Trump, praise it. Oh, I think I just fucking X'd it out like an idiot. What a dummy. All right, let me see. Now I'm gonna have to go back. Jesus Christ, me and my fat fingers. It's like dialing the wrong number on the cell phone. Let me see if I can go back. I got to go back to the last thing we were watching now on YouTube. Let me go back to the history. But if you go back to Donald Trump saying, oh, the young man, he's fucking fantastic. It's so accurate and he's so enthusiastic. It's like he's reporting on what you said, you absolute twat. Was it this one? No, it wasn't that one. It was, hold on, let me see now. And now I got to go back to where he talked to Fox. Yeah, I think it was right here. Throw this back on the screen.
Beautiful to
there
watch.
We go. Back at it. Back at it.
He's got a level of excitement that's amazing. But the accuracy is so good. I just saw him on your show.
Yeah, the accuracy is. I got a fucking kick out of that part. It's like the next part he's gonna go on to talk about how, like, factual and on point and accurate Barack Ravid's reporting has been. Like I said, the same guy that's following up Donald Trump's claims of a deal being just around the corner, just in 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. We'll be there. 2 years. Give me 2 millennia at this point in time. But all right, I think that's enough of Donald Trump anyway. I shouldn't even have taken the time to go back and find the rest of the clip. But was there something? I know there's a bunch of other things that he said that are madness. I think again we're missing the part where he threatens Iran. Let's see. I'll just pick up some random point here.
Ultimate position. They have no choice.
My
But the only
analogy,
negative we
Mr.
have is we
President-
have everybody writing about it incorrectly. We have fake news.
But
that's where the term fake
my
news
feeling
came
is
from.
this is like your strategy is like an anaconda. You're slowly you'll talk to them, but you're slowly squeezing them to death.
Yeah.
These fucking closeted. I mean, happy Pride Month, everybody, right? Let me get that out first and foremost. Happy Pride Month. But the fact that these guys just nothing but anacondas, snakes, mushrooms, and sexy men with muscles. Did you see the meme that Trump posted? Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm sure he's probably deleted at this point if everybody pointed it out to him. But he had this meme that he posted of him in like these short fucking biker shorts with like a bunch of topless muscular men, which look to be like cheerleaders in the background cheering them on and shit. A very gay post, right? We're welcoming, we're accepting. Happy Pride Month, we love it. But again, we're just trying to we're trying to connect the dots here from what Donald Trump says, going out and kissing men in the crowd, and how he's clearly like got a problem with very handsome men, and he doesn't like good looking men and stuff. No problem with women, as we've known from his past, but he might have taken it down at this point. Like I said, somebody probably pointed it out to him, one of his staff, like, hey, just to let you know, they're pointing out the shorts that you're wearing in that meme. But I won't subject you to too much of Donald. Look at the fucking shit that he posted on this thing, right? Unreal. Oh, here we're getting into some memes. Maybe we'll close. We'll give him a second. I'll give him too much. Here's the dumb drone port that he's got. There's another one there where he's humping the American flag. Apparently he likes the reflection that he sees. Kind of gets off on that. Another one. There's representing that as trash. There's some stupid AI. Let's see here. It's got to be somewhere around here. He seemed to be on a meme binge. No, not that one. All right. Well, anyway, if you scroll back enough, I'm sure you'll run into it. Hunter Biden's on there somehow. Here he is filling water to the reflecting pool. Let's see here. Come on, it can't be too far away. I think you guys will get a kick out of it, but like I said, the chances of him leaving that up there is probably slim to none. But all right. I digress. We're probably not going to find it. Come on. It's got to be in here somewhere. How much crap does this guy post, for crying out loud? Jesus Christ. All right, I give up. I never give up. I never give up. All right, I'm done. I give up. All right, we'll go on from there. My apologies, but I'm sure you could pull it up on, I'm sure you could look it up on the internet and pull this up. All right, let's dive into these updates here from our good friend of the show, Jake Bro. Play this on your screen here. Clearly detailing another substantial night for the Ukrainians. Chalk up another 1,190 Russian souls eliminated from the battlefield. You can chalk up another 3 tanks, 7 armored fighting vehicles, another 74 artillery systems, which in 24 hours is just fucking... It's insane. I don't even know how to calculate that. 74 just artillery systems in 74 hours that were taken out surely by drone there. 6 MLRSs, 3 air defense systems. Chalk up another 2,204 UAVs or drones taken out on the Russian side. Another 5 unmanned vehicles, 376 vehicles and fuel tanks. and another 4 pieces of special equipment. So here we go. This is Jake Bro just giving us a little bit of information. I think he's focusing on the Crimea area as well. And I think the next video that I have pulled up is also focusing on that area too. And I want to dive into a little bit of the Google Maps, excuse me, just to kind of show you a little bit more closely where the area that we're talking about. So I'll let Jake go on for a couple minutes and we'll dive into the map real quick.
Welcome back, defenders. Crimea continues to be isolated. Chandhar Bridge linking occupied Kherson to Crimea is closed again after the second attack in 2 days. The Kherson Administrative Authority was kind enough to announce traffic on the bridge across the Chandhar Strait has resumed in reverse mode, meaning one of the bridge lanes is okay.
And he brings up a map himself to kind of show you where this bridge and this strait that he's talking about is. So just hang tight. And he'll kind of make it more clear where he's speaking about.
I think the one leaving Crimea. But this was stupid because this told Ukraine they needed to strike the bridge again, which they did. So here's the administrative authority announcing the bridge in Chandhar was damaged again following a Ukrainian drone attack. Traffic on the bridge has been closed again. Womp womp. Now, in my last video, I said it was impossible to isolate Crimea because there's still a land bridge connecting the peninsula. People in the comments were saying, no, Jake, there's a bridge over here that Ukraine can destroy as well. And this actually isn't true. And I can zoom in and show you exactly where this bridge is. It's in the town of Arminsk, and it looks like there's a river here with a bridge going over it. But that's not a river. That is the canal feeding fresh water to Crimea. We can trace this canal all the way back to the Novokakhovka Dam.
So again, we've focused on recently the Ukrainians' attempts to cut off the supply in Crimea. We've talked about the Melitopol to Mariupol highway going into Crimea. Obviously, that being the land bridge, and then obviously the Kerch bridge, and the likelihood that the Ukrainians could try to cut off Crimea. Well, apparently, he's focusing in on another area that people were talking about that, people were speculating that the Ukrainians have the ability to strike this bridge to cut off another point of access for the Russians. But what Jake is talking about here is that if you look at Google Maps, and we'll go into it, it looks like there's this like a canal that comes off of I believe it's the Novokakhovka Dam, up further north. But if you actually take a look at it now, if it's been updated, you can see that has run dry, so that if you strike that bridge, it doesn't necessarily cut off the Russians' abilities to get through that, right? They could build some sort of way across, where the water source was to begin with before it dried up. But let me see if I could just throw this on real quick. Share this tab instead. I'm not muted. So I just want to go into, I marked a little bit on this map, and I'm going to bring this over here so I can see you guys both at the same time. I marked on this map the areas in which he talks about in details, both in Jake Bro's video and in the RFU News video coming up here. So I just want to scroll in. This is the bridge that he's talking about. If it's going to let me scroll in, yes, it will. So I got it right now on I'll change over to the satellite view real quick. Let me go here. Come on, stop being slow. Satellite view, switch over. So we'll zoom in here, and you can see this is the exact point that he's talking about here, where apparently people in his chat were saying, no, if you look at this area, the Ukrainians could strike this and cut off this point of access as well. So he's saying if you follow this waterway, right, and sorry, it's kind of reacting a little bit slow right now because of the amount of things. Let me see if I can close a couple things out here, make it run a little bit better. Take that off, take that off. Take that off, take that off. Hopefully that makes it run a little bit better. But if I zoom out a little bit here and you kind of follow this waterway up, it'll eventually go up to the dam here, right? So that's the same thing that he was just following. You go up north, right? You go back here, and then eventually you get up to the dam, which is right here. So here's the Novokakhovka Dam. So then we zoom back out, we go back down to that area, and this is the bridge again that we're talking about. But what he's saying is that if you look at this, it looks like it represents water. But if you just scroll a little bit down here, it looks like a different portion of the map has been updated. See this clear switch? See that clear line? You can see just kind of right here. If you look at the mouse, you can see what looks to be water on this side clearly looks to be dry on this side. So Jake's saying that lower representation is a more recent, kind of depiction of that area. So the Russians wouldn't necessarily have to, forge across water, or if that bridge was taken out, it wouldn't necessarily, hamper their abilities. They would still have some ability, some options as to get across that. But the other point that I had picked out as well was the other, let's see here. Here's the other section that we're taking a look at. This, the other bridge here that's part of the land bridge, right? So this is the Chongar Strait. This is the one that was just reportedly struck by the Ukrainians there. I'll put this, where did Jake go? Did I just exit that one out too? Oh, no, it's right here. My apologies. So if I throw this back on the screen, and then he's reporting right here. So this says the bridge in Chongar was damaged again following a Ukrainian drone attack overnight. So when they say the Chongar Bridge, this is what we're talking about as far as that bridge right here. You can see this is the Chongar Strait, right where my mouse is. And then again, if you zoom out a little bit, you can see where that is a little bit more clearly. And then obviously, if you look at the third point of access, as we've talked about before, here's the Kerch Bridge. That has been a target before for the Ukrainians and remains to be a target for the Ukrainians as well. So basically, those are the 3 points of access, right? So if I go back to this other version, which points out the roads, right, you can see if we take a look here, this one roadway coming in here. So you can go from Melitopol or Mariupol to Melitopol, the highway there. Here's Melitopol, Mariupol over here. So you go from Mariupol, let's zoom in a little bit. So here's Mariupol. You can see this highway coming out. Follow this highway all the way down. The M14 to Azov, goes into Inzivka, right? Comes back up here. And then we're in Melitopol. So then if you follow that, Melitopol down into Crimea, you can see that goes straight through that strait that the Ukrainians were striking, right? The E105 highway, obviously detailing their abilities and, their attempts to try to cut this off. But then if you follow these other roads as well, right? And I think my mark had changed a little bit, but if you take a look at these other roads coming in, this other, I think it's, what's it say? The H05, this one right here, right? So this is the other road that comes in, and the bridge that Jake Bro was just speaking about is in this area. The placement moved. My apologies where I had it marked out, but it's somewhere in this general vicinity here of where that other bridge needs to be taken out, or where that other bridge said was possibly taken out. So you can see those 3 points of access getting into Crimea, right? So this road here, and then obviously if you scroll down here, you got the Kerch Bridge as well. So just to kind of give you a better representation, a better understanding of the area, and kind of that way you can, visualize it as it's being talked about. It helps me. So, I basically do it for me. I know a lot of people like me may be more visual learners than they are just be able to hear the words and the cities and kind of putting it together. So let's go back on here to Jake now that you got a better idea of where we're talking about.
Chonghar was damaged again following a Ukrainian drone attack. Traffic on the bridge has been closed again. Womp womp. Now, in my last video, I said it was impossible to isolate Crimea.
Right, so this is where he goes back into speaking about that exact bridge. And like I said, it's very difficult to try to cut off a portion of the front entirely. If there was any area in which it has a high, a high percentage or a high likelihood that it could happen, it would be Crimea. But even, Jake here is rightly pointing out that it would be nearly impossible. You could slow it down, substantially, and you make it so that they could not continue the fight. But to cut it off entirely might be difficult, considering the amount of options they have if that waterway isn't in place, if that bridge isn't like the only ability that they have to continue on that highway that we were depicting. So here he goes in to give a little bit more of an explanation as to the updating of Google Maps, why people think it's filled with water, and then if you look at the more recently updated portion of the maps, you can clearly see that it's been a few years, I think he says, since there's been water in that reservoir.
Connecting the peninsula. People in the comments were saying, no, Jake, there's a bridge over here that Ukraine can destroy as well. And this actually isn't true. And I can zoom in and show you exactly where this bridge is. It's in the town of Arminsk, and it looks like there's a river here with a bridge going over it. But that's not a river. That is the canal feeding fresh water to Crimea. We can trace this canal all the way back to the Novokakhovka Dam. But this is an old satellite image. This canal has run dry. It's been dry for years now. And you can actually see this on Google satellite images. So for whatever reason, Kherson on Google Images has not been refreshed since 2023, but Crimea has. And if you just go a little bit over, you can see that canal is gone. So,
but again, I
no
think a counter argument to this would be, so, okay, I'll stipulate that there's no water there. We could stipulate that the bridge really doesn't have the importance that it would have if, in fact, again, there was water going through that canal, that reservoir there. But that doesn't mean that if the Russians were, in fact, attempting to build some sort of bridge or some sort of, roadway to go over, I'm sure, the gap that's still left in place from where that water was going through, right? I'm sure it's not easily traversed, so they'd have to build some sort of, sand or, land bridge platform to get over, to get from one side to the other. But that could still be struck by the Ukrainians as well, right? Whether it's a bridge or whether it's kind of like a land passageway, whether or not they utilize, what does this look like? See this road in the background? See where my mouse is? Does that look like a road there? And like I said, I have that thing moved, so unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to pull that. Let's see here. I know it was in and around this portion here. Couldn't have moved that much, right? Now, let's see if I go back to this portion of the map, if it stands out a little bit on the satellite. So if we follow that road all the way up, it's got to be on that road. So let me go to this other one, and we can follow that road real quick, and it should be pretty evident as to where that is, right? So is it right? Let's see here. Nope, that already split off, so it's got to be more north. Somewhere, it's got to be in here, I would assume. Somewhere, yeah, here it is right here. So if I just change over, go to the satellite, here it is right here. So again, if that's the bridge we're talking about, then what's to stop them from utilizing, what's this? This looks like another land opportunity. This looks like another road that was just over the shoulder of Jake that I just noticed. So like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that the Ukrainians couldn't consistently hamper their efforts to try to utilize these roadways. Here you can see a car going over that one, but I'm not sure if this looks like to me another bridge, right? So again, I'm sure is that the only ones? Looks like those are the only ones. So if you cut those ones off, looks like I'm still, like I'm saying, what's this one right here? Not sure. That looks like a pipeline more than a bridge or anything like that. So yeah, so like I said, the Ukrainians could still have great impact in effect if they cut off the Kerch Bridge, if they cut off the strait that we were just mentioning, and this portion right here, which again would effectively sever off the ties of Crimea largely from the resupply efforts by the Russians there. So again, I'm just trying to put it in my mind. I like looking at the map and seeing what positions we're talking about and the options that they have. It kind of gives us a little better insight, gives me a little better insight. Hopefully it works the same for you as well. Oh, hold on. Let me throw this back on. My apologies.
Russians from driving over this canal. They can just fill it with dirt and sand, and then there's nothing that Ukraine can blow up.
Well,
so
they could blow that
Crimea
up.
Can never be entirely isolated, but if Ukraine can create a bottleneck on this single highway, this is a good target for drones patrolling the area. Chandhar Bridge halted twice. Now the Arabat Spit crossing was hit. This is the other way to get onto the peninsula. And Ukraine is now focusing on this. This is the
and
new
that
breach.
is, again, just to utilize the map again, is this portion that we were talking about. I believe Damon was referencing this in one of our last Zoom meetings. So this area right here, this peninsula up in this area right here, is what they were talking about, and apparently the Russians have been chased off that, and obviously they're trying to cut off any resupply or abilities that the Russians have to get more military into that area. So appreciate Dame Dog for bringing that up in the Zoom the other night as well, making us aware of these different areas in which Ukraine has been going after. So just to kind of show you on the map what that was, and then we'll dive into this RFU news right after this too.
Territories in Henichesk. And south of Henichesk, there are 3 bridges. I can show you a different map. 1, 2, 3. Let's just go to Google Images, and we can zoom in, and you can see there is a bridge located here. Ukraine struck this. There's a bridge located here, and then there's another bridge located here. But this isn't a good alternative because this road doesn't really go anywhere. It just goes along the coastline to the Sea of Azov, and it spits you out way down here. This is not near Simferopol. This is not near Jankoy or Sevastopol.
So that's actually a different area that he's speaking about as well. That's on the opposite side that I was just referencing. So that must be another area in which the Ukrainians have been focused upon as well, or at least trying to cut off that particular portion.
Either way, Ukraine's still going to go for it. So once again, they're trying to concentrate all traffic right here. create a bottleneck, and then, create a target-rich environment. And this is just a turkey shoot. I don't know how many of these mid-range Hornet drones that Ukraine can produce a month, but they're destroying like more than 100 vehicles a day on this highway. And it's been so effective that the traffic rate, this is being claimed by Magyar's Birds, the traffic rate on this highway is dropped by 71%.
Wow.
Just 3
And
or 4
again,
weeks.
that's that highway that we were just looking at here, guys. So let me throw this back on. If you can see the route in the satellite, easily kind of shows this. So this is this route that we're talking about, right? Here's Melitopol, again, Mariupol. So along this highway, and then down here going into Crimea is where the Ukrainians have been really ramping up their strikes and targets on, again, resupply vehicles in particular, which again has cut down on the traffic, has been reported here by Jake, some 71%, which is huge. It's substantial. Again, if you're one of the troops in Crimea waiting on the trucks trying to get your resupply, your letters, your food, your fuel, your ammunition, whatever it may be, and 71% of those trucks can't make it through, it's going to create clear problems at the front. It's going to go on to hurt the morale, whatever morale is still left with these people. And obviously just the ability they have to, make that high of a percentage, get that higher percentage to stop as far as traffic, just goes to show the effectiveness and the continued technological advancements they have in the drone warfare game as well. Oh, Christ. I got to remember to keep going back. My apologies. Jesus Christ.
Freeway has fallen by 70%. This is Magyar's update. This is what he says specifically about the math. Prior to these mid-range attacks, there was about 11,000 vehicles per day transiting, the
11,000 vehicles per day, total traffic on the section of interest along the Novorossiya highway, including the 3,800 cargo vehicles daily as of June. 6,500 vehicles per day, including 1,100 cargo vehicles daily. 1,100 divided by 3,800 equals minus 71%. This is not total fire control over the highway, so spare us the clickbait headlines. This is more of a nice boots will take them situation. A traffic collapse is not a blockade. But it says here the current diet imposed on the first land corridor, and it goes on here where I can't see that, but a very substantial reduction in the amount of traffic, as you can see here, because of the uptick in Ukrainian strikes.
Novorossiya highway, this is the M14, including 3,800 cargo vehicles. As of early June, now it's only 6,500 vehicles per day.
And it's also not lost on me that it's called the New Russia Highway. I believe that's what Novorossiya translates to, roughly. If I'm not mistaken, let me know if there's any, Ukrainian or Russian speakers in the chat there. But I believe that is New Russia, which is, again, very hypocritical and ironic for this road, this highway to be called that going into Crimea. And obviously the fact that the Ukrainians are trying to mitigate the abilities the Russians have to resupply and continue to extend their war, to fight their war from Crimea.
Per day, and 1,100 cargo vehicles. So
let's see, I'm running out of time real quick. Let's see if we can jump into this one as well, because this was an RFU news update, and I believe it's talking about the bridge, the Chongyar Bridge that we were just speaking about, and some others of the same aspects. So I just wanted to compare and contrast these two and see if we can get similar information, or if, again, there was any discrepancies or anything that we need to call out. But I think this might show in a little bit more detail, again, the areas in which we've been speaking about geographically. So hit that like button. I'll get you guys out of here after this one. I appreciate you very, very much for sticking with me. Slava Ukraina, Heroyam Slava, and fuck Donald Trump. So hit that like button, guys.
In this video, we will analyze how Ukraine has cut off the Crimean land bridge. Here, Ukrainian forces struck one of the most important bridges connecting the Crimean Peninsula to Russian forces in southern Ukraine. By doing so, Ukraine is steadily taking control of the entire Crimean land bridge.
So it looks like he has very similar points pointed out as well. So this would be the bridge that we're going to be talking about, right? That Jake Bro was just speaking about there, the Chongyar Bridge that was struck by the Ukrainians. Obviously down here, just behind me, is going to be the Kerch Bridge. I'll get out of the way so you can see where the Kerch Bridge is. And then the one up north, I believe, is the same bridge that we were just speaking about, that Jake Bro brought up, that was going over that reservoir. Looks to be in a very similar area. So, but you can see how he's already talking about how it's cut off. Jake trying to play it a little bit more conservative and saying that it's going to be very difficult for it to be fully cut off. So again, you can see kind of the different styles and the discrepancies, not discrepancies, but the different ways in which the different channels kind of report on the news. So that's why we try to get, as much of this as humanly possible to kind of, make sure that we can filter it through properly.
every major Russian supply route under threat. The Chonhar Bridge is one of the most critical logistics links between Crimea and the rest of the Russian-controlled territories in southern Ukraine. Spanning over the Sivash Lagoon, it forms part of the shortest overland route connecting the peninsula to Russian forces operating in the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. Unlike the longer routes running through the Kerch Bridge or northern crossings, Chonhar
So
allows
that's pretty much it right there, though, guys. You know what I mean? So you can see how they don't have many routes to utilize. There's not too many options that the Russians have. I mean, you're looking at pretty much the main ways in which they have, the ability to get things either in or out of Crimea. You got the two roads up top that kind of fork off a little bit once you get into Crimea, and then obviously you got, the route over the Kerch Bridge. You know what I mean? So it's like they're kind of screwed as far as that's concerned, and the Ukrainians definitely have an advantage. Obviously, knowing which routes they can go after and have to go after, and the advantage of not having that many routes to go after. Right. So if there were, 37, 40, 50 different routes and ways in which they could get supplies into Crimea, being the Russians, then it would obviously expand the amount of targets that the Ukrainians would have to hit. Now they can just pretty much follow that road, right? Whether it's whether it's from, Mariupol to Melitopol, or Melitopol down here to, where they finally get into Crimea and have to pass over that bridge. Like, it's pretty clear cut where the Ukrainians can go, where the Ukrainians can target and what they have to strike. And then if you go over here, obviously, you got this road that kind of forks off, but then goes right straight down anyway. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's pretty advantageous to be on the side of the Ukrainians, let's just say, as opposed to being on the side of the Russians, trying to come up with, different ways in which to try to resupply Crimea, where there's just not that many options afforded to you whatsoever.
Fuel, reinforcements, and heavy equipment to move rapidly. This makes it one of the key arteries holding together Russia's southern logistics network. Ukrainian forces targeted this artery directly with FP-2 drones and the newly introduced long-range Behemoth drone, which struck the bridge deck.
There's the actual drone video there, and you can almost get the exact same. Viewpoint, if you will. So here's that same area. Here's that same bridge. Now, if you go over to the satellites, right? Go over to satellite. We could change the tilt. Let's change the tilt just a little bit. And then you can change the heading a little bit as well. And this is pretty much the same flight path, right? Here's a similar flight path that drone just took coming into that bridge. So we go back here, right? You go back to this one, right? So we'll go back just 5 seconds, and then you can see this is a pretty similar flight path coming in to this one, right? Might even be the other way around, to tell you the truth. Might even be coming from this direction. Let me zoom out a little bit. So I think it's probably coming from this direction if you follow the path of the water. Right? So it's probably coming in right here. So that's probably exact to what the other one is depicting right there. So again, it's easy to be able to utilize the map, or it makes it easier for me to be able to utilize the map. And you can see, direction. You can see exactly what they were attacking. You can see why they were attacking, what that means in the greater picture. So hopefully, that the representation and the times that I use the map, it's advantageous for you guys as well. But let me just see here if they can go on.
And the newly introduced long-range Behemoth drone, which struck the bridge deck in a coordinated operation conducted by several Ukrainian special-purpose drone strike units. Reports and imagery indicate that several holes roughly 1 meter wide were blasted through the bridge surface, while the main supporting structure remained intact. However, bridges do not need to collapse completely to become operationally ineffective, and the damaged roadway immediately rendered the crossing unsafe, forcing Russia to halt traffic and inspect the structure before any future repairs. Following the strike, traffic on the Chonhar Bridge is severely restricted, with heavy military and supply vehicles most affected, while lighter vehicles may pass only under strict controls and reduced capacity. With the Chonhar road disrupted, Russian traffic must now move through the longer Armyansk crossings and the corresponding northern route.
Right, so it's forcing them to take the other route now, which is adding time, distance, added fuel cost, obviously added delays to when that the supplies can get to wherever they're supposed to be getting to. So obviously this goes to have ramifications, down line. It's a snowball effect once that starts happening. So even though this is what they're looking at is kind of like a minor disruption, and I'm sure they're likely to get the hole on the bridge or the damage to the bridge fixed and open in some time. While that's taking place, the trucks that have to reroute, and you can see them here represented by these guys. So they were coming down this highway here. Obviously they can't take this bridge, so they got to take this rerouting. And then down here. And then this is forcing them, like I said, that's what brings this other place into play so many times, which is why I keep going back to this, right? Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. We'll go back to this other one, which is, I believe, right. Oh, it's going to be unmarked again. I didn't move the mark. But you guys know what I'm talking about as far as that other bridge. There it is right here, I think. Somewhere over here. Is it this one? You guys know what I'm talking about. But that's why that brings this position into play so much, because that would be the third option. You can see how they're rerouted, and they would have to travel over that specific bridge that Jake Bro was talking about. I think it's this one right here at Armyansk, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why you can see. Let me go back up here, do it that way, better heading, and then we could zoom out, and you guys can see exactly what we're talking about. So here we are here. So they would have to follow, and this path would go somewhere, something like this, I would assume. Can you draw on these ones? I'm not sure if you could draw on these ones. I don't have the ability to. Hold on, let me exit this out. Exit this out. Exit this out. Does it give me the ability to draw it? No. But something along these lines, right? So it'd have to come in, from here down to this point and over there and then down into Crimea. So you can see why that bridge would be so important. All right, back into it. Back into it. My apologies. Play.
This creates congestion, delays, and predictable traffic patterns that the Ukrainians can exploit, as every fuel truck, ammunition convoy, and reinforcement column must now spend more time on the road and face greater risk of destruction.
That's another great point, too. Didn't even mention that. The fact that you spend longer time on the road opens you up to, being targeted for a longer period of time. The longer you're on the road, the more likely you're going to run into a Ukrainian drone. So that's another thing that's going to hamper the resupply. But like I said, I just wanted to dive into a little bit more of the details of the Ukrainian strikes and obviously their attempts here at cutting off Crimea and how successful they've been specifically on the Mariupol to Melitopol highway down into Crimea. And, reducing the traffic of 71% is incredibly substantial. I think you can hear that just in the percentage alone. But then if you attribute that to supplies that aren't making it to the front, that aren't making it to the places that they're supposed to get to, then obviously you can see the impact that could have. But wanted to make sure that we got through that one. Thank you guys so much for all of your generosity and watching the show. Appreciate the loyalty that you guys show here as well. Nance, I saw your text message as well. So she says Nance was saying that Malcolm Nance was talking about a different model of Shahed. Well, that could be the case, but as well, I don't think that it would be any more likely that it would stick in the helicopter. And I know that's not what you're saying, but I think the analysis kind of sticks. The analysis kind of stands. The cockpit of the Apache doesn't change. And again, the details of the Shahed, although they changed a little bit, it's a pretty substantial thing. It's a pretty substantial piece of equipment, regardless of which one of the models that you're speaking about. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and I appreciate you bringing that up as far as for me to reference. And I have been utilizing Malcolm's updates over the last couple weeks as well. So I'm pretty sure that I did see that. So, but thank you so much, Nancy. Appreciate you for keeping me up to date and informed. What do you say we dive into the nice, generous people that were kind enough to utilize this little Venmo QR code? Send over the the change you find between the couch cushions. A buck or two is all we ask for, guys. We do everything. This is an independent channel from the ground up. We do not take any, there's no sponsors. We don't talk to any fucking, we don't do any ad revenue. There's no ads that I put on here in the middle of the podcast. Nothing like that. It is straight and 100% done with the generosity and support of you guys in the chat there. So thank you guys for getting the merch. People of quality don't fear equality. Another one of the bangers that we got on there on the Blunt Politics merch site. Head over to bostonbrian.com. Thank you to the backbone of the community. Everybody signed up for a YouTube membership just underneath me, the Patreon community. Salute to you guys. Thank you guys so much for all of your love and compassion and attention that you show to the show. But let's see here if we can thank some people. Thank you to Bry Guy. Appreciate you, Bry Guy. Bry says, Slav Ukraine. I worked at Fox, and let me tell you, the rot is rampant. You did? You worked at Fox? God love you. How the hell did you make it out? And you made it out like a sane person. That's crazy. God bless you. It's pretty. I think that's worth a congratulations, Bri. So appreciate you for joining us here in the chat. And then, like I usually do, thanking people over the last couple of days. Thank you so much to Beth. Thank you to MR. Thank you to Jenny, Faye, and Corey for everything that you guys have done. Thank you so much to Damon. Thank you to Nancy. Thank you to Yakov. Hope you're feeling better, my brother. Thank you so much to, who am I missing? Nina, Allison, and there was one more. Thank you so much to Jeff in Geneva as well. So much appreciated over the last few days. Everybody, again, utilizing the Venmo, sending a buck or two goes a long, long way in helping this. Just think if we could, still 200 people in here, if all 200 people sent in a buck or two, how much that could be, how beneficial that could be to a platform of this size. So hopefully we're trying to get to 25K before midterms, and it's only with your help and support. And like I said, we have passed the $11,200 mark on our NAFO 69 Sniffing Brigade campaign with Help 99 to try to get the 3rd Operational Battalion, the artillery platoon, their NAFO vehicle. So head over to help99.co. Links should be in the chat by the mods because they're unbelievable. So what do you say we get to thanking people over here on the YouTube side of things today? Starting it off today was Deb. Let's go, Deb. How are you, dear? Very much appreciate you. Brian, Trump just canceled tonight's strikes. Trump just canceled tonight's strikes. What do you mean? What's that mean? Hold on. Let me see. Now I got to get filled in. Trump strikes. Let's see here. Trump threatens to take total control of Iran's oil. Oh, strikes. Okay. Oh, he canceled the strikes. Okay. For some reason I had like protests. I thought you meant protest strikes for some reason. I should have known better considering the full-scale war we're engaged in. So my apologies. But yeah, it does say CNBC. Trump cancels Iran strike scheduled for Thursday evening. So let me throw this on the screen. Appreciate you guys for letting me know that. Hopefully I'm not muted. Nope, I'm not muted, but let me throw this quickly on the screen for you guys so you guys can be as up to date as I am. Thank you so much, Deb. But yeah, it says here, this reported by CNBC says, Trump's, get the fuck out of here with these pop-ups. Trump claims Iran war settled, subject to finalization, expects signing in the next few days. Just fucking rinse and repeat with this fucking bastard, huh? President Donald Trump claimed that the U.S. just made a great settlement of the war, subject to the finalization of documents. Iranian state media reported that it was the U.S. that had accepted Iran's proposed text. Earlier Thursday, Trump said that he canceled an upcoming round of U.S. military strikes against Iran, claiming on Truth Social that the talks with the IRGC have been approved, in quotation marks. Stock indexes soared and oil prices sank right after Trump's announcement. Of course, that's the hopes. That's what he's doing it for. He announced the war. The bombing was going up. Oil prices were jacking back up. The Iranians were announcing the possible closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which would further cause an increase in gas and oil prices. So, of course, he's going to come out and say a deal has just been done or is close to be done or a finalization of documents, whatever the fuck that means. So it says here that they made great settlement, yada, yada, yada. Trump said in the Oval Office that he expects to have a signing occur over the next few days. The Strait of Hormuz, the vital oil shipping route that has become a major choke point during the war, will be reopened as soon as the deal is signed, Trump said. So again, all the same bullshit, all the same shit. I'm sure Barack Ravid's all over this. I'm sure Trey Yingst or whatever the fuck his name is all over this. Trump, who has claimed for months that a peace deal with Iran is close in hand, only for none to emerge, also indicated that a purported agreement has yet to be made official, leaving it unclear whether an actual deal exists for the warring countries to review. So we don't even know if there's a fucking thing to review at this point in time, never mind a deal that's going to be signed. The U.S. naval blockade of the Iranian ports of the Gulf of Oman will remain in full force, yada, yada, yada. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. But again, it looks to be more of the same from Donald Trump. Strike when the strikes don't bring Iran to the table, when the strikes don't bring Iran to their knees, when the strikes inevitably don't eradicate Iran's military capabilities, and then just say there's a deal to be done. Just say, okay, we're going to stop bombing because somebody made a phone call. He said this last night. The Iranians called, told us to stop bombing. The Iranians said, the fuck we did. Fucking hell, we did not. Well, it's tough for us to call you while we're fucking gassing up our missiles. Sorry, can't hear you. There's not much service around here on these missile launch sites that you still have left intact somehow. So we'll have to call you later. But nope, nobody called from here, dickhead. But he said the same thing last night. But here we go with more of the same. But I appreciate you, Deb, so much for keeping me up to speed. Like I said, it's easy to miss things while you're live. I try to put the show together to the best of my ability for all of the information up until we go live. But, there's not much I can do once we go live unless I just kind of stumble upon the breaking news. So thank you guys for keeping me up to speed. Appreciate you, Deb. For your contributions as well. Thank you for the $2. Thank you, Frank, as well. Frank says a cold one and just rolled one seems like a fucking good idea. Seems like some good instructions, especially in today's day and age. A cold one and a rolled one couldn't hurt you. But thank you so much, Frank. Big shout out to you. Thank you for the contribution before we even went live. I'm not sure that will show up, but I do recall and I do appreciate it, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you, Colleen, as well. Look at the CNBC reporting that he just canceled the attacks. Oh, thank you guys. Looks like you were trying to keep me up to speed on that, and I just missed it in the chat. So thank you, all of you guys. For again trying to shout at me, but I'm shit at looking at the chat. You know that I'm focused on the show, so my apologies. Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you so much, Deb. Thank you, Kyle, as well, for being a member for 26 months. Let's go. I've been parked for a while now. How cool! Like I said, I'm really, really appreciative, and I'm really, really blessed to have such fantastic people in this chat for such a long period of time, too. That means something's going right? I know it's a slow roll. The growth is really slow if you're not kind of out there doing these really scripted and highly edited 7 to 10 minute videos. Lives is kind of like, it's a difficult way to build a platform, but again, things have to be going right in the right direction somehow if you got people coming back for 26 months and longer. So thank you, Kyle, for being a pretty good representative of the channel. Thank you so much for being here. And obviously, thank you so much for your contributions. Very much appreciate that. Thank you so much to Nola for being here as well. This war will be filed in the X-Files. I'm telling you, they're going to study this fucking debacle for some time to come. But I appreciate the $5, Nola. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you again to Colleen. So fucking gracious of you for gifting 10 fantastic people in this chat, some Boston Brian memberships. So everybody make sure we're reaching out to not only Colleen, but everybody in the chat that, comes out of their pocket with a buck or two or even more in a lot of cases to help support this channel. So again, W's to Colleen. Thank you so much, Colleen, Nola, Kyle. Thank you, Colleen, Frank, Soka, Deb, for all that you guys do. Thank you, JD, for always making sure that swear jar is topped off. Very much appreciated, my friend. And thank you, Jordan, as always, for watching, from well away from where we are right now. So thank you so much, Jordan. Very much appreciated. Thank you for the 5. Hope you're doing well, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I really will. Another great show. But like I say, I'm biased. So you guys got to let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of us. If you want us to start covering other things, if you think we do a good job in some cases, if you think we can improve in some other cases, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat. I'm open to suggestions. I'm definitely open to figuring out what we can do to more quickly build this platform, build this community. So like I said, we just want to be able to have the most weight thrown behind our punches. And it seems to be with the subscriber count going up that tends to happen. I wish it wasn't the case. But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. And like I said, I hate doing the housekeeping notes and asking you guys to donate and stuff, but that's also the world that we live in. That's the world that I chose. And we try to do things the right way. Like I said, 100% independent, no financial backers, no sponsors, no outside helpers, nothing like that. Nobody affecting what we can say and what we can't say. Nothing that is going to jeopardize my opinion or sway my beliefs in any way, shape, or form. So I think that's the right way to go about doing things. It makes it a little bit more difficult unless you have a ginormous base to make sure that they're going to be there to support you. So that's what we're trying to do. So head over to bostonbrian.com. That gives you all of the links and updates and information on the Zooms that we do every single month for the Patreon members. That gives you all of the links to my social media accounts, whether that's Threads, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. You can get it throughout there. And then obviously on bostonbrian.com, check out the Blunt Politics merch shop. There's a big link on there. Can't miss it. And you got fantastic stuff just like this. Like I said, people of quality don't fear equality. I think gets the message across, along with some other great designs we have on there. And then any Ukrainian merch on there. We also make donations to United 24 on behalf of you guys for any contributions that you make on that behalf. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Head over to Help 99. Make sure we get ourselves to at least 50% before 2 weeks. That would be a great milestone to be able to get halfway through our next campaign. This Summer of Drones campaign in less than 2 weeks would be unbelievable. So thank you guys to everybody that's contributed so far. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive, and get the fuck out of your seats, people. we're definitely not mad enough in this country, and it's a problem. It's a problem. So, but if you do get out there, make sure, like I said, you're staying safe. Keep your head on a swivel. I want to make sure that you guys are keeping yourself safe. Make sure you go out with a group of friends or family or people that are familiar with the area. But like I said, thank you to everybody out there supporting and raising some hell. Go out there and cause some good trouble, please. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. What's today? Thursday. I'll see you for the Friday show. We'll end the week. We'll see what roundup we can get into. We'll see what bullshit Donald Trump's spewing. And we'll see if any more drones and missiles and anything else being lobbed through the Strait of Hormuz. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you so much to the mods. Show the mods some love on your way out. Very much appreciated for everything that you guys do, and obviously the best chat in the history of the planet here at Blunt Politics. Appreciate you guys. Subscribe to the channel, and like I said, I'll see you tomorrow for Friday. Peace out.
We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
God bless the United States. For miners, do we love miners? I love miners. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal. They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
He says, rectum damn near killed him.
The water coming here is dead.
Obama. 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 In the hell was that all about?
White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
My superpower is being honest. I will eat my neighbors.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Другої бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
Where you going? Nowhere.
I'm just an average guy who read public documents where the elite said they were going to enslave us and destroy America. And I'm not going to be like yuppie scum and deny the threat to my country. I'm going to fight back. Cacophony. A crescendo. A finale.
Go fuck yourself. Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
This guy's been drunk all day. Oh, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off!
They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. Referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
He's calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands. The big, fat, sloppy United States.
Taking it back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses.
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
You know, he wanted to debate. If we didn't have a debate, he'd still be there. Can you imagine if we didn't have a debate? Why the hell did I debate him?
We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel, and he's doing great.
Yes, of course, hence the name. Movement, it moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. Revolution gets its name by always coming back
Вітаю,
around in
Бостон
your
Брайан.
face.
Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable, I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat. Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
The population in Thailand is 63 million people. It is twice the size of Wyoming. Its chief exports are textiles, footwear, and rice. Each year, approximately 13,000 people are killed in car accidents in Thailand.
Is there anything worse than white people?
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
The big